And we're live. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
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 We're so excited to be here. Hello, everybody. Hi. Hi. But no, we were talking gaming before this. I don't have anything
Like
really
all
big to
the
talk
gaming
about.
stuff that happened last week, pretty much.
Well, this weekend. Um, I don't have like a lot of update stuff to talk about other than to say, hey, I made a really silly, dumb AMV of Overlord that's up on our Patreon. You guys should check it out. That's about it. That's about it. I I don't casting began, and so to celebrate the fact that we are officially doing casting for Overlord Abridged one shot. Yeah, we did the dang thing. I'm so excited. It doesn't. I know it doesn't sound like it right now, but I really am excited. I am. That being said, welcome back, guys. Welcome to Mushoku Tensei. We're on Volume 9. Background has changed, as you can see. I grabbed some images from Volume 9. I probably could have grabbed an image that actually had their names in English, but I was pressed for time. Yeah. That being said, though, tonight is Shim's reading, so we'll probably be chewing through quite a bit of the book as well, because Shim reads a lot. Shim tears through it. That's not to say. By the way, that Sonic didn't chew through some
Yeah, I was
good
gonna
chunk
say.
of the book. I was
Yeah, he
actually
did like
pretty
33%,
impressed.
didn't he?
Yeah,
20
I
or
was
33.
pretty impressed with how much of the book you tore through last week. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
That was a good stretch of reading there, buddy.
Nom
So,
nom 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 nom.
nom nom nom. Exactly. Yeah, you were like
I enjoy. I was very tasty read last
you were
week.
you
I
were like
really
Jeff
enjoyed.
the book
I
shark.
liked it. I think I wanted to get to a Bodigatti so badly.
Bodigatti.
Bodigatti.
You
But I
gotta
was
get
like,
to
Yes.
Bodigatti. A
I
Bodigatti.
liked all the
Bodigatti.
stuff with Alina Leeson's like, Rudius, what the fuck you trying to do to me here? What's this? Like, oh, hello, Flynn. How you doing? Rudius, what the fuck you trying to do to me? It's like, how does this happen? What? I thought this was gonna be just a no-go or whatever.
Literally, when you're trying to read Mushoku Tensei, your thoughts are just like, "What are you doing to me?"
Right, guy. Why you make me read these crazy
Badigatti.
words?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we're on chapter.
We're on chapter 4. Yeah.
That's
Impervious
right.
Fiance Part 2.
I was distracted by Bodygatti's great picture.
21%
What a
of
beautiful
the
picture.
way through and page 70 out of 314. So you did pretty good. You got us all the way to page 70, my guy.
Yeah, it's really good. Almost 100
but
pages.
Shem gets to have the fun part. Bodigatti.
Oh, the jealousy. The jealousy.
I want to fight Bodigatti.
Bodigatti.
I'm sorry. Let me reiterate that. I wanted to play Bodigatti.
If memory serves here, don't you also get the PTSD moment?
The PTSD moment? I probably do. I mean, I got the first one.
Wait. All right. At this point, has Rudius met?
No, he has not.
Yet?
He has not met her yet, and he hasn't.
Okay.
Freaked the fuck out.
I think
so.
it's after this.
Yeah, I think so too.
After this, or pretty close.
Yeah, we're close because it's
close.
after he fights Bodigatti or
I wanted to see how you guys worked with that, because to my memory, I don't think that the scene in the book for this particular section was nearly as strong as how the anime did it. And I'm like,
But yeah, the anime made him look like he had a normal reaction to that. It's like, oh, it's the girl who showed up with the guy who almost fucking killed me.
Yeah.
Technically,
it's the girl. Technically, it's the girl that saved your life.
Technically, but he didn't know that, right?
Yeah.
No. Eris mentioned that. Eris mentioned that to him afterwards. He's like, "How am I still alive?" And he's like, "That girl said something to him, and then he healed you."
Yeah, but then again, I don't exactly know because I was watching in Japanese, so I don't know how it directly translates.
Gotcha.
But I mean, like,
I'll be honest, I haven't watched
he's
Mushoku
fine.
Tensei dubbed either, so
Yeah,
that
and
might be an
then I don't know.
experience. Who knows?
In my thoughts, like he doesn't know if like he's serving her or
I think
you
I've
know.
seen like the first episode dubbed. I'm not
I think it's just
100%
like
sure.
association, you know what I mean? It's like when
Gotcha.
something traumatic happens, you kind of associate whatever happened with that, and you're like, nah.
Gotcha. I think in the
That's
dub
my
they
guess.
also toned
I freaked
down
out.
the creepy on Rudius as well. But like, yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well, no, okay, they're not able to fully tone it, but like with the dialogue they do. Like it's not
I think he
nearly
calls
it
people
doesn't
normies in that one, which kind of made me like tilt my head a little bit because I was like, huh?
well, yeah.
Because he was like, it was like from what I remember, because one of my friends watched it and all of it and dubbed. And he showed me like the first couple episodes, and if I remember correctly, the guy had a really nice voice. The guy was supposed to voice
Oh yeah,
Rudius,
yeah. Or
but then he's just like,
the
"Man,
the
it's hard to keep up with a bunch of normies or something like that," and it just made me tilt my head because it's like, "Huh?
yeah, because
I don't
you're used
expect
to
this guy to
thinking
say
about
the
it
word
like,
normies and
well,
lolly and things like
yeah.
that." It's like, weird.
It's well, I mean, he is speaking English. Those would
He
be
is, but it was just kind of weird. Kind of
the
like
terms. Yeah.
I don't expect those terms to come out of a guy whose voice sounds like he's on like a fucking Sunday morning classical music show on the radio.
My guy, he's voicing inner Rudius.
I know.
He's
That's the
gonna
thing.
say
It's
some
just kinda
pretty
like,
fucked up
huh.
shit.
And he
He's gonna
did,
say
but I was
some
just
pretty
kind of like,
fucked up shit.
huh. It did some like
Huh.
weird like
Yeah.
audio dissonance in my brain.
I love that. It's like it's when he uses like modern day terminology in English that you're like, nope, that's too far.
It's not that it's too far. It just kind of made my brain go, wait a minute, hold on, run that by me again.
Wait, huh?
You have to,
know what
yeah.
I mean?
He's like, he kind of reminds you that he is from another world originally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that, but it was
All
just
right.
kind of like, huh.
Is it funny? I don't know.
All right, let's get to it.
Anyway,
Take it
Chapter
away,
4.
Shin. Yes.
Yeah. The Impervious Fiancé. Word spread throughout the countries near the Renoa University of Magic with remarkable speed. Demon King had appeared. Excuse me. Normally, news of a Demon King would have reached them well before his actual arrival, but this particular Demon King had moved so quickly that they only found out the moment he was crossing through their territory. The rulers of these nations were thrown into a state of confusion and panic. This was understandable. As a basic rule, Demon Kings never ventured off the Demon Continent. There had been warlike, aggressive Demon Kings long ago, of course, but virtually all of them were exterminated in the Laplace War centuries ago. Survivors who now ruled over the Demon Continent were peaceful or cautious by nature and largely disinterested in conflict. Yet, regardless of their personalities, these kings were still powerful enough to take control of a piece of the terrifying Demon Continent. If one of them decided to go on a rampage in humanity's territory, the damage would be incalculable. Renoa, Neris, and Bashirant all reacted instantly to Bodigadi's arrival, dispatching all the knights at their disposal to intercept him. They also called upon the Adventurers Guild for emergency assistance, but their forces were still some distance from the University of Magic. As an emergency stopgap, the small units of Magic Nation soldiers already garrisoned in the city of Sharia joined all the local adventurers and members of the Magic Guild and surrounded the campus. If it came to the worst, they were ordered to slow down the Demon King until the main forces could arrive. However, the Demon King's purpose in coming here remained a total mystery. It wasn't difficult to identify him. There was only one Demon King with jet black skin and 6 arms, Bodigadi the Immortal. He was one of the ancient kings who lived since the Laplace War, or before the Laplace War. His most notable power, as his name suggested, was literal indestructibility. Seems fair. Thanks to his peaceful nature, little was known of his capabilities in battle, but some historians believed he once fought against Laplace himself. That would mean even the fearsome demon god had failed to totally destroy him. Why had such a person suddenly appeared in the Renoa University of Magic? Why had he wandered around its campus knocking both innocent students and visiting beastfolk unconscious as he went? It would be a while before anyone learned the answers to these questions. Rudius. At the moment, I was standing at the center of the university's advanced magical training ground, which was their fancy name for this flat, empty courtyard. Facing me was the Demon King Bodigadi. I held my head high and folded my arms in an attempt to project some confidence, but perfectly honest, I was freaking out a little. Can you really blame me, though? How calm would you be if you had a massive 6-armed tank of a demon glaring at you like that? Okay, fine. I'd started to feel like I was pretty powerful lately. I have to admit that much, but we were talking about a Demon King here. I was a couple levels above what a pretty powerful could deal with. It felt like the universe was punishing me for getting cocky. I wanted to run screaming for the hills, honestly. I looked behind us and saw that we attracted a huge a huge crowd of rubberneckers. It seemed like an even mix of male and female students, which with a good number of professors as well. If I turned tail and ran here, what were they going to think of me? On reflection, I didn't give a crap about that, actually, but it felt like I'd lost my chance to escape. All of a sudden, someone broke through the crowd of spectators and trotted towards me at a brisk jog. It was an older man who wore a slightly conspicuous wig. The look worked on him, though. I've heard about the situation from Genius. My apologies, but could you please buy us some more time? We're gathering our forces as quickly as we can. With that said, he turned around and returned to the crowd. Who's that guy supposed to be anyway? Felt like I'd seen him before. It wasn't coming back to me right now, but I understood what he was trying to tell me at least. Principal Genius was aware of the situation, and he was going to get me out of this mess if I managed to stall for long enough. It was nice to have people with pull on your side sometimes. Said Bodyguardy, watching me with all of his arms folded. The boy's certainly taking his time. I don't think it'll be much longer, I replied. Right now, Fitz was off fetching me my trusty staff, Aqua Hartia. At my request, Bodyguardi had agreed to wait until it got here. I hadn't expected Fitz to take this long, though. It wasn't that far from the library to my dorm. I left the staff standing right next to my bed with a cloth draped over it. It should have been easy enough to find. I hurried over here because I know you humans are always in a rush. But you seem quite composed, boy. I'd expected no less from someone who intrigued my fiancée. Your fiancée? By which you mean, Empress Kishirika, yes? Indeed, Bodyguardi nodded firmly. I hadn't forgotten about the demon Empress Kishirika Kishirisu, of course. She was the one who gifted me my demon eye. At first I hadn't believed she was the real deal, and she left so abruptly afterwards I was too stunned to make sense of what happened. Still, why the hell was her fiancé showing up to fight me now, after all this time? Surely he wasn't looking to marry Linnea or Persenna. Your Majesty, I only had one brief conversation with the Empress, although she did grant me this demon eye. Well, she's always talking about how impressive you are, boy. It's been ages since I heard her speak of anyone with such excitement in her voice. I'm a very tolerant man, of course, but I'll admit I was a bit jealous. Jealous? Seriously? Wasn't like I'd done anything with her, right? Why would he be angry at me? Was it that joke I made about wanting to have a go with her? That didn't amount to anything, though. She turned me down because she had a fiancé, which would be this guy. Right. There's nothing special about me, I assure you, I said in the calmest voice I could muster. I'm just a sad, pitiful mouse of a man. Honestly, I can't imagine why a demon king like yourself would be jealous of me. The demon empress must have been exaggerating somewhat. Bodyguardi responded by bursting into laughter, as if I'd cracked a truly hilarious joke. Don't be modest, boy. I've heard all about that astonishing pool of mana you've got inside you. Astonishing felt like a strong word. Yes, it was becoming obvious that I had way more mana than most people did, but surely it wasn't anything impressive enough to make a genuine demon king jealous, right? Come to think of it, though, Kishirika had made some comment about this as well. What were her words exactly? All I could really remember was her cackling with laughter for no apparent reason. Well, yes, I do seem to have a bit more mana than most people. A bit more, eh? Yes, indeed. Bodyguardi proceeded to roar with laughter at some length. After a while, he abruptly fell silent and dropped to the ground with a loud thump. Sit down, boy. I quickly took a seat. Bodyguardi was still enormous, even seated. Felt like I was conversing with a mountain of muscle. It was a pity I hadn't been blessed with that kind of physique. It seems you don't understand what it means to be called astonishing by the demon empress Kishirika Kishirisu. Well, I guess I don't, no. She told me you had an amazing amount of mana, more than Laplace even. You're the first person she's ever said that about. Laplace, like the Laplace? Apparently it had more mana than a demon god. That didn't feel right to me. Or that didn't feel right to me, honestly. I hadn't run out of mana in a very long time, true, but it wasn't like my body was overflowing with power or anything. The demon god Laplace had one of the biggest total mana pools in recorded history. In other words, yours is also one of the largest ever. Oh, come on, that can't be right. Despite my mild protestations, my heart still jumped with excitement. After all, I was talking to a demon king here, someone with centuries of experience in battle. It almost felt like a pro athlete telling me I had potential or something. I don't know the truth of it myself. Kishirika can be a bit sloppy at times after all. There is a chance she misjudged you. Bodyguardi's expression turned slightly sour as he spoke these words. Maybe he was remembering some costly mistake his fiancée made in the past. She did seem the type who made some careless errors, honestly. Well, I'll admit I've. Oh, sorry. Well, I'll admit I've made an effort to deepen my mana pool over the years. I don't know about having more than anyone else in history, though. Wouldn't that mean anyone could break the record if they train themselves like I did? No, such a thing would be normally impossible. Maybe this had something to do with the fact that I'd been reincarnated from another world then? Or maybe the man god had somehow cheated on my behalf without me even noticing. Uh, there's one thing I'd like to ask you, Your Majesty, if you don't mind. What's that? Feel free to pose my inquiry. Uh, just to be clear, I'm not a lackey of the person I'm about to name, so I'd appreciate if you didn't suddenly attack me. I already agreed to wait, boy. A demon king never breaks a promise. What, really? Well, that's good to know at least. I'm gonna take you at your word on that one, okay? No violence, please. Does the name Man God mean anything to you? Where did you hear that name, boy? He's someone who appears in my dreams sometimes. Holding his upper set of arms, Bodyguard began to stroke his chin thoughtfully. I see. Your dreams, eh? Do you know something about him, Your Majesty? Bodyguard paused for a moment, apparently deep in thought, then shook his head. I can't say. I think I've heard the name before, but I can't recall where. It's been a few centuries since anyone spoke of him to me, at the very least. Is that so? Well, thank you anyway. A few centuries. That's kind of vague. Guess he doesn't have the best memory. Not a problem. If I remember, I'll be sure to let you know. I'd appreciate that. You're so damn dull, boy. Laugh with me for once. Bodyguard certainly seemed like a man who enjoyed his life. I hadn't said anything especially funny in his entire conversation, but he never seemed to stop laughing. I found myself remembering the night I met Regard. We'd first connected on a personal level by sharing a laugh, hadn't we? Maybe laughter was a kind of a common language here. If the person I was speaking to was laughing, it was probably rude not to respond in kind. Alright then, let's do this. Blah! Good. That's the way, boy. It's like Kishirika always says. Laugh first, think later. Come to think of it, she was laughing the last time she died, wasn't she? Bodyguard laughed yet again. Despite his fearsome appearance, he didn't seem like such a bad guy. As we laughed, the group of spectators behind us started to get a little rowdy. I turned back to see what was going on. It looked like there was some sort of commotion in the middle of the crowd. I could barely pick out the sounds of shouting voices. Let me go! I need to give him his staff! Stop it! You give it to him, he'll have to start the duel. But what if this duel starts anyway? Are you just going to stand here and let him die? That's not what I'm... Leave this to me! Ah, Zenoba. Zenoba Sharon? Or... Unhand me! Unhand me! Oh, Suddenly, Master Fitz burst free from the crowd and rushed towards me with ferocious speed. The guy was seriously quick on his feet. He had to be moving 3 times faster than I could. Maybe we should paint him red and stick a horn on his head. I'm sorry, Rudius. The professors tried to stop me. Gasping for air, Fitz came to stop in front of me. He had my staff cradle in his arms. You're one hell of a runner, Fitz. Huh? No. My shoes are magic items. That's all. I looked down at the boots that Fitz would always seem to be wearing. I didn't even realize they were magical in nature. His cloak was probably enchanted too, wasn't it? He never took it off, even when it was hot outside. No kidding? Are those sunglasses magical too? Huh? Oh, these. Yeah, they're... Oh, wait. Sorry, that's a secret. Fitz laughed softly and smiled in embarrassment. Why did this guy have to look so damn cute when he laughed anyway? He was doing weird things to my heartbeat. Anyway, here you go. Good luck, Rudius. Just don't push yourself, okay? If you realize you can't win, then just apologize and run for it. You're up against a demon king here. No one's going to blame you. Your life's more important than your pride. Nodding, I took Aquahardia from Fitz. It had been a while since I fought a real battle with this thing in my hands. Let's do what we can, partner. Make it through this in one piece. I'm going to head straight home and marry my beloved pineapple salad. Throwing up a lazy death flag as just for the hell of it, I pulled the cloth off Aquahardia. Fitz drew a sharp breath of surprise. A mischievous thought popped in my head, and I found myself unable to resist. Fitz, take a look at the magic stone on my staff. What do you think? It's really big. Oh wow, I think something downstairs just twitched. Whatever could that be? Well, enough playing around. Bodigatti had already risen to his feet and was happily flexing all 6 of his shoulders. Had I managed to buy enough time? It seemed unlikely, but I had no idea how I was supposed to talk his ear off long enough for all the soldiers in town to gather, honestly. Excuse me. Fitz trotted back towards the crowd, looking a little reluctant to leave me. I wouldn't have minded to be stuck around personally. Some backup might be nice right now. Seriously. Help, please? Are you ready, boy? To be honest, I'd rather spend a bit more time chit-chatting. Time enough for that later. Did that mean he wasn't going to kill me? No, it wasn't safe to assume anything. This guy seemed careless enough he might accidentally knock my head off, assuming anyone with lots of mana could take a hit or two. I considered saying something. Could it hurt to ask him for a non-lethal duel? Bodigatti stood there casually, hands on his hips. He wasn't going to come charging at me from the looks of things. Maybe he was waiting for me to signal that the fight was underway. Just as an initial precaution, I activated my Eye of Foresight. Huh? To my surprise, it showed me nothing. There was literally nothing standing where I knew Bodigatti was. What's got you looking so astonished, boy? Ah, I see. You already tried the demon eye Kishirika gave you, right? Sorry, but those things don't work on me. Bodigatti let out a snort of pride as he announced this offhandedly. Wait, seriously? The demon eye is completely useless against him? Guess I should have expected as much from a demon king. This was definitely a problem. My chances of managing to avoid a fatal blow had just gone down dramatically. That was nothing special, physically speaking. If he hit me in the wrong place, that might be it for me. Your Majesty, body's fine. I permit those who laugh when I ask of it, I permit those who laugh when I ask of it, or ask it of them to call me by that name. King Body, then. I have a request to make. What sort of proposal? I'd like to ask that you spare my life, even if I lose this duel. Bodigatti burst into laughter once again. Begging for your life before we've even started. You never cease to amuse me. Well, a life's a tragic thing to waste, don't you think? I said. Ah, yes. You humans die so quickly as it is. I hear many of you feel that way, the Demon King replied with a cackle. But why are you so sure you'll lose? One would think such a massive pool of mana would lead or lend a man some confidence. I was nearly killed by someone called the Dragon God not too long ago. That probably has something to do with it. Bodigotti's laughter came to an abrupt halt. The Dragon God? You mean Orsted? You fought him and lived. By the skin of my teeth. If you hadn't spared me on a whim, I wouldn't be standing here today. Demon's King's face was suddenly very serious. This seemed less than ideal. I let my guard down when he didn't react to the name Man God. What if Orsted was the one I shouldn't have mentioned? Talk about careless. Tell me, boy, were you able to wound the Dragon God in that fight? Even slightly? Huh? Yeah, I guess. I managed to tear a little skin off the palm of his hand. That's it, though. Bodigatti pulled his mouth tightly shut and stared at me fiercely. The effect was slightly intimidating. Come on, why don't we start laughing again? In that case, I'd like to make a request of my own. Oh, really? I said as meekly as I could, watching Bodigotti's expression. What would that be? You get one shot. Huh? Hit me with your very strongest magic. I'll give you one chance, no more. Use the spell that hurt the Dragon God, perhaps. Should it manage to pierce my battle aura and do me harm, then you win. If I am undamaged, then I win. How does that strike you? Oh, sounds good to me. I couldn't have asked for a better offer, really. I wouldn't have to get my face punched in, though. Or I wouldn't even have to get my face punched in, though? Sure, but isn't that a little one-sided? One-sided? One-sided, you say? True enough. Very well, then. If you can't scathe me with your magic, then I'll hit you with a counterattack. It will be a single blow. No more. Damn it, I just dug my own grave. One attack from this monster would probably be enough to pulverize my heart. I should probably stop talking right now before I manage to dig myself even deeper. I understand. Let's go with those terms, then. Very well. At long last, I held Aqua Hartia forward and began to concentrate. I drew in a long, deep breath and began to gather as much magic power as I possibly could in my staff. I was casting Stone Cannon, one of the spells I was most familiar with, but I made sure this projectile was far harder than the one I'd fire off at Orsted. I'd cast that spell quickly out of sheer desperation. I hadn't been holding my staff, and I'd only used one hand. This time, there was no rush at all. Once I gathered enough mana, I should be able to make my spells several times more powerful. Projectile. Solid and incredibly hard. Creating the bullet wasn't fundamentally any different from how I made the figurine, but I focused entirely on its hardness, ignoring properties like toughness and resilience. I shaped it like a spindle tapering to a fine point and added a pattern of grooves. Modifications. Rapid rotation. The faster it spun, the better. I focused until my bullet was just a blur. I had no idea how many rotations per second I was even looking at. Velocity. Maximum. This was the most critical part, so I devoted as much mana as I possibly could to it. I've never used so much mana on a single stone cannon before. Given the amount of time it took to prepare, this version of the spell wouldn't be much use in real combat. And for most monsters, it would probably be overkill. This man was a demon king. He might very well just shrug it off. At the very least, I hope I could put a scratch on him. I really didn't want those massive arms smacking me in the face. Okay then. Here goes. Excellent. Have at me. I fired off the spell. Boom. My bullet tore through the air with a high-pitched whine. There wasn't any recoil, for whatever reason. There never was with magic. That didn't make its power any less real. The stone slammed into Bodigatti with an enormous bang. His entire upper body was blown apart. His 6 arms disintegrated instantly. His lower half, still intact, soared dozens of meters backwards and plopped limply to the ground. Huh? What was left of Bodigatti didn't even twitch. I've been expecting my attack just to bounce off him with a twang or something. What was this? Slowly, fearfully, I walked over to Bodigatti's body and looked down at him. The intact part of his body wasn't bleeding for some reason. Was that just how it worked with a Demon King? Given how much he laughed, I figured he didn't have much use for tears, but maybe there wasn't any liquid in his body whatsoever. Huh? Wait, really though? This isn't happening. Is he dead? I still didn't understand what just happened. When I turned around, I found the crowd of spectators staring at me in total silence. Their gaze made me cringe. Nobody was even moving. I swallowed reflexively. The sound of my throat made actually seemed weirdly loud. Had I actually killed him? That can't be right. I mean, come on, he seems so totally confident, huh? He said he was immortal, right? He told me to give him his best shot. He didn't seem worried at all. What the hell? I needed to calm down and make sure I understand exactly what I'd done. Slowly, fearfully, I turned around to look at Bodigatti once again. I am revived! I very nearly fired off another stone cannon immediately. Bodigatti was standing right in front of me, alive once again, and about half as big as before. He was roughly my height now, but his head wasn't any smaller than before. The effect was a bit bizarre. That wasn't really important right now, though. Oh, you're alive. That was definitely a relief. I convinced myself that I killed a man without even meaning to. Good thing I wasn't up against a normal human being. Whoa! I thought I was done for, boy. In any case, now it all makes sense. It was wise of you to prevent a real battle. Had we fought in earnest, this whole area would have been reduced to a barren wasteland. Bodigatti let out a sustained burst of laughter. I guess he found the idea amusing. Over the next few moments, all 6 of his arms came crawling to him across the dirt and rejoined his body. He was growing steadily larger, although he wasn't quite back to normal yet. You certainly sent me flying quite a distance, boy. Looks like it'll take some time before I'm my old self again. Bodigatti seemed inexplicably excited about this. You win this one, Rudius, he continued gleefully. Feel free to call yourself a hero. I don't think I will, but thanks anyway. At least give the crowd a victory cry then. Wah-ha-ha-ha-ha! Bodigatti seized my right hand, still holding my staff, and pulled it up to the air like a referee announcing the winner of a boxing match. Well, whatever. If he says I win, I guess I win. I won! The spectators responded to my cry with total silence. For whatever reason, nobody made a sound. After a long moment, Bodigatti nodded to himself. They aren't much fun, are they? Well, all right then. Time for you to take my punch. What? That wasn't the deal? Before I could object, he smacked me straight in the face with 3 fists at once. He was still holding my arm, of course, so I had no chance to defend myself. Bullet knocked me unconscious. You big liar. Following this, Bodigatti apparently went off somewhere with that toupee guy, handsome middle-aged man in armor, and an old guy in a robe. It sounded like the big shots had a few things to discuss in private. As for me, I lay in the infirmary for a while before regaining consciousness. Once I came to, Vice Principal Genius took me to a room in the teacher's building and offered me some tea and snacks while I recuperated. He didn't have much to tell me. It sounded like he wasn't entirely clear on what was going on himself. Demon King had shown up out of nowhere, wandered around knocking out both students and beasts alike, challenged me to a duel, allowed me to claim victory, and then knocked me unconscious. That was all we had to go on, and it wasn't enough to make sense of the situation. Still, it seemed no one Bodyguard knocked out had actually died from their injuries. He was supposedly a peaceful guy by nature, so that probably made sense. Excuse me. A number of very important people were trying to figure out his objectives as we spoke. The guy with the toupee was actually the principal of the school. It took me a minute to recall his name was Georg, King-tier wind magician. I'd seen him once before back at the entrance ceremony. Joining him in his talks with Bodyguard were the leader of the Magic Guild and the captain of the Magic Nation Knights stationed in the city. But I must say, Rudius, that was a truly remarkable effort. You struck down a Demon King with a single preemptive strike, and even acknowledged you as the victor. The principal believed a lone adventurer like yourself could only buy us a little time, but surely no one could have expected this. Why, you caught my blood pumping for the first time in years. There was genuine excitement in the vice principal's voice. It sounded like the crowd hadn't heard any discussion or my discussion with Bodyguard before the duel began. None of this was that impressive when you consider that he'd let me take the first shot, and I'd never really been in danger. Genius fawned over me a little while before finally letting me go on my way. He had told me to stay put in the dormitory until everything was fully figured out. As I left the teacher's building, Zenoba came running up to meet me. Ah, there you are, Master. I saw every second of your duel. It was truly impressive, but I suppose I should have expected you to triumph. I shook my head. He just let me spar with him. That's all. My spell had broken through his aura, true, but he hadn't even tried to evade it or defend himself. And given the fact that he could regenerate completely when defeated, I couldn't have possibly beaten him in a real battle. You're too modest by far, said Zenoba with a chuckle. Sparring evenly with a Demon King is impressive enough, I assure you. When I glanced at Julie, she looked even more frightened than usual. This had been a pretty gruesome spectacle, even at a distance. Hopefully I hadn't scarred her for life. On the way back to the dorm, I ran into Cliff and a very pleased-looking Alina Elise. Hello there, Rudius. What was all that commotion about earlier? What were you two up for the last few hours? Oh, you know, this and that. Cliff blushed red as Alina Elise giggled. You don't have to tell him. It seemed these two had been indulging in some grown-up fun for the entire duration of the Demon King's assault on the university. Good for them, I guess. The Demon King Bodyguard showed up out of nowhere and challenged me to a duel. I managed to win. Huh? Said Alina Elise, looking mildly surprised. He's here already. Already? What the heck is that supposed to mean? Did you know he was coming, Alina Elise? Yes, I did. But he was staying with the Ogre tribe. He said he'd be staying there for some time, so I should go ahead by myself. Demons like him tend to not pay much attention to the passage of time, you know. I thought he'd be there for another decade or so at least, and it's only been 2 years since we parted. You probably would get pretty careless with time after living a few thousand years, wouldn't you? Or wouldn't you? I know the years slip by way faster after I passed 30 in my previous life, although that wasn't exactly comparable. In any case, he's not a bad man, is he? I nodded. He seems like a decent guy, yeah. He was probably better than most royalty, at least. That cheerful personality of his was kind of endearing. He did break his promise, but it seemed only fair to hit back when someone blasted your head off. What are you two talking about? Oh my, are you feeling jealous, Cliffy dear? Don't worry, I belong to you now, body and soul. That's not the God. Stop clinging to me. Rudius is watching. Let's show him a thing or two then. The two of them began making out, so I shrugged and walked away. As I turned the corner, I heard Cliff protesting, But the Demon King wouldn't just show up here. Yeah, that's what I thought too, buddy. Master Fitz was waiting for me at the entrance to my dorm. When he spotted me, he assumed an expression that I couldn't quite decipher. Was this excitement, maybe? His cheeks were a little flushed, and his hands were clutched into fists. It almost looked like he was too fired up to put his thoughts into words. You're really strong, Rudius. Wow, not very eloquent today, huh? I never thought you'd take him down in one shot like that. Well, we agreed that I got to fire off one free attack at him, and its power would determine who won. So I just used the strongest spell I have. The strongest spell? But that's the same one you used on me in your test, right? Was it a better version of that? Yeah, it was a stone cannon. I just charged it up as much as I could. So even an intermediate spell can be that powerful if you're a real master, huh? With an admiring hum, Fitz turned aside and conjured a rotating stone bullet of his own. After a moment, he fired it off. It whistled through the air and pierced into the ground some distance away. Well, I'm not sure I'd call myself a real master or anything. Don't you mostly use earth magic, though? Yeah, I guess. For a while, I was relying on water spell, but a few years ago, I switched over to using earth almost exclusively. I knew it! You definitely get better with a discipline when you use it over and over again, right? Was that actually true? Sounded plausible, I guess. I felt like I was getting steadily better at making figurines, for one thing. Yeah, I guess so. I think I'm getting a little more precise, at least. You can use more mana when you keep at it, too. Right, for sure. Making those figurines actually takes a lot of power, you know? It seemed really be enjoying the conversation. When I think of it, we hadn't discussed magic like this very often, had we? Oh, I'm sorry to go on like this. You must be tired, right? I didn't mean to hold you up. Go get some rest. Uh, right. Thanks. With that said, Fitz broke away and trotted off towards the school buildings. I sort of wanted to keep the conversation going, but he was probably busy. In the aftermath of that incident, the student council likely had a lot to deal with. At last, I was back in my room. I leaned to get my staff against the wall. It had been a very long day, what with the Demon King and all. Physical and mental fatigue washed over me the moment I glanced over at my bed. I lay down and let myself relax. I also allowed myself to get a drink of water. The next month passed by somewhat uneventfully. After some careful negotiations, the 3 members of the Magic Nations had decided to recognize Bodigadi as an official state guest for the duration of his stay in their countries. Bodigadi, for his part, apologized for the hassle he caused by offering one of his arms to the Magic Guild so they could study his immortality. He'd also agreed to act as a temporary martial arts instructor for the Knights stationed in Sharia. But that wasn't all. At our next homeroom session, my 2 furry subordinates were once again in their seats. Bodigadi had dealt with all their suitors, so it was apparently safe for them to venture out to class again. You're the man, boss! Thanks again, Mew. We'll give you something for the trouble soon. Didn't expect the Demon King to show up, though. We're too damn sexy for our own good, yeah? Well done protecting us. I'll give you my permission to squeeze Linea's breast. Appreciate it. Since I've been given authorization, I went right ahead. Yeah! Linnea responded by scratching my face. What happened to my permission, huh? What happened to giving me something for my trouble? How perfectly atrocious. Every girl has a pair of these, right? What's the big deal if I touch a few? You're always so fearless with women, Master, said Izanova thoughtfully. And yet you never seem to pursue them seriously. Hey, Cliff hissed. Cut it out, Snowba. Remember this is a condition, don't you? Yes, of course. My apologies. Lately, Cliff had been sitting closer to us. Sounded like Elena Elise had been telling him a few things about me here and there. Didn't know exactly what she was saying, but it can't have been that bad since Cliff was considerably more friendly now. Incidentally, everyone seemed to be assuming that Eris had dumped me because of my condition. Not that it mattered anyway. I forgot all about her by now. Really? On a different note, Cliff and Elena Elise weren't making out in public nearly as much these days. It didn't seem like they'd broken up or anything, though. Every couple days, I noticed Cliff stumbling around campus looking like a zombie. Elena Elise was clearly keeping up very busy at night. They'd probably just reached an agreement to cut back on the public displays of affection. Still, wasn't all this fun going to give Cliff trouble with his studies? I was going to medical, of course. It was his life, and he could live it how he wanted. If anything, I was kind of jealous. Just a little. Grandmaster, I don't have enough mana to harden this part. Will you do it for me? Julie was devoutly working on her figurines day in life. I'd started giving her some tutorials on making them by hand in parallel with our lessons on the magical method. That wasn't my specialty, though, since we were getting some assistance from a dwarf in the same year as Zenova. As for Demon King Bodigadi, I still only had a very vague outline in the situation. He said that he came all this way because he was jealous of me. I mean, I'd be held partially responsible for all the damage he caused? I wouldn't think that genius wouldn't have that. He was the one who recruited me, after all. My train of thought was derailed by the sound of the classroom door swinging open. With the exception of Silent, all of the special students were already in their seats. It was too early for the professor to arrive. Had Silent actually showed up for once? Whoa! A booming laughing echoed through the classroom. An instant later, he strode inside. Without a moment's hesitation, he marched out to the podium and gazed down at us like an emperor surveying his domain. Behold, it is I, Bodigadi, the immortal Demon King. Is this seriously happening? Is he seriously wearing a school uniform? The Demon King Bodigadi had formally enrolled at the Renoa University of Magic as sort of a publicity stunt. He wasn't studying much of anything, of course, but he made a habit of sitting in on class and speaking to students who caught his eye, which usually resulted in them desperately fleeing for help. Those who were brave enough to stick around were supposedly rewarded with tidbits from his vast stores of knowledge, but they were few and far in between. One way or another, though, things had come to a relatively peaceful conclusion. Chapter 5, The White Mask, Part 1. Recently, it seems like some people are a little frightened of me, and by some people, I mean basically every student attending the University of Magic. At first, I just thought everyone was avoiding me for some reason. Not that I was exactly wrong about that. Case in point, sometimes I find myself walking down a hallway towards a group of tough guys headed in my direction. Naturally, I'd step out of the way so they wouldn't harass me, right? For some reason, they were already moving out of my way. Sometimes I even look out the window and talk about how nice the weather was, despite the fact it was snowing. I was just happy they weren't hassling me, of course, but in retrospect, maybe they were thinking the exact same thing themselves. I only figured out what was going on after an incident that took place when I was heading back from my intermediate detoxification class one afternoon. When I stepped out of our classroom following the lecture, I spotted Goliad in the hallway just outside. Yes, that Goliad. The human wrecking ball who'd falsely accused me of stealing underwear on my very first day here. She noticed me the same moment that I noticed her. Our eyes met. Two of us were technically acquainted and she'd been here longer than I had. It seemed like it might be rude to just walk out without saying hello, and I felt like I should probably apologize for our last encounter too. As I walked over, though, Goliad twitched and averted her eyes. She squeezed in her broad shoulders to make herself as small as possible and looked into the distance with a fearful expression, consciously trying not to see me. Uh, Hi, Goliad. I've been meaning to talk to you about what happened on my first day here. When I actually spoke to her, she immediately started trembling like a newborn fawn. I'm sorry about that, she squeaked out weakly. Really, really sorry. Please, I didn't know. Her attitude seemed slightly different from the last time we'd met. I was actually a little taken aback. This almost made me feel like I was threatening her or something. I was going to apologize to you, actually. I didn't know the rules about the dormitories at the time, but I won't be making that mistake again, so as I stumbled through what I'd planned to say, a group of spectators began to gather around us. Hey, look, it's Rudius. Is he still holding a grudge about what happened on his first day? Oh man, poor Goliad. He's the one who broke the rules, right? What a bully. Shut up, stupid. What if he hears you? Their whispers were critical of me and full of pity for Goliad. I've been saying her name like 5 different ways. I could see tears welling up in her eyes. I felt like kind of like crying too, honestly. What the heck was going on here? The way they look at me really hurt. What's all this, Mew? Who's fighting in the hallway? Somebody's got too much fucking energy, huh? At this exact moment, Linnea and Persena happened to show up. They pushed through the crowd and spotted me and Goliad. After studying her tearful face for a moment, they smiled and nodded to each other, then pushed their way confidently between us. Hey, boss! Why don't you leave it at that, Mew? Goliad didn't mean to tick you off, really. Could you cut her a break for us? We gotta look out for the other Beastfolk girls. Go on, Goliad, you're fine. Or, go on, Goliad, you're fine. Just don't get on the boss's bad side again. Got it? You were lucky his right-hand girl was passing by. If it weren't for me, he might have chopped you into mincemeat. Okay, thanks. Goliad gratefully bowed to the two of them, spun around and walked off quickly, looking considerably smaller than she really was. The rest of you, get lost too, Mew, Linnea shouted. This ain't a show. The crowd of onlookers promptly scattered like a nest of baby spiders. Let out a small sigh of relief when I turned to Linnea and Persena, hoping for some sort of explanation. I found they'd already started one of their trademark banter sessions. Okay, Persena. Okay, Persena. So what was that supposed to mean? What are you talking about, Linnea? I'm the boss, right-hand girl, obviously. He's picking up lots of new flunkies lately. You're too dumb to keep things running smoothly. Your grades are just as bad as mine. Oh, come on, you two, I finally interrupted. You can both be my right-hand girl, okay? You just don't get it, boss. We gotta have a pecking order. That's right. It's fucking important. I can understand that Beastfolk like hierarchies, but I didn't remember establishing any kind of gang. And I didn't care which of them was which hand. That aside, they just bailed me out of trouble. I should get them something to express my gratitude. Raw fish and a slab of meat do the trick? Anyway, that Goliad sure was stupid to tick you off, boss. What'd she do to you, Mew? She mistook me for an underwear thief on my first day here, but... Huh? Oh, I remember that. Wait, so that phantom panty thief was you all along, boss? That's so messed up, man. Suddenly the two of them were looking at me with scorn in their eyes. How would you let me finish my sentence? I was falsely accused. Maybe I should give them a second helping of despair and humiliation rather than meat and fish. Now that I think about it, Goliad was boasting about that for a while. She said she caught some cowardly first year red-handed, but Fitz protected him. I guess she's the coward now, huh? Hilarious. She was talking about talking trash about you, and you let her off the hook? That's real big of you, boss. But we ought to send a message here. We'll take care of it, Mew. That sounded kind of ominous. Hadn't these two moved past their delinquent phase by now? Don't do anything to her, please. I don't want to go around making enemies over nothing. Pfft, you really gotta get more ambitious, boss. Who cares about Mew enemies? We could rule every dorm in this school if we teamed up to take down Ariel. She's right, You beat Fitz, boss, so you conquered the school in no time. What was it with Beastfolk and wanting to seize power anyway? Seriously, they were all a bunch of fuzzy Decepticons. Let's say I did seize power with the dorms and everything. What would I even do with that authority? I'm going to care less about being at the top of things. I was fundamentally trying to avoid conflict where possible, and taking on a leadership position basically guarantees somebody's going to hate your guts. In this world, walking down the wrong road at the wrong time was enough to get you stabbed through the heart. It's just safer to be friendly and respectful to everyone you meet. Well, you could do anything you want, Mew. Well, I guess you couldn't do much with the girls, actually. Ooh, I know. We could bring you a pair of panties from all the girls in the dorms at the start of every year. Good idea. Boss loves panties so much he has them on display in his room, right? He'd be super happy. No, I wouldn't. It wasn't like I had those there because I love panties. I mean, I kind of liked them, sure, but that didn't mean I wanted a bunch of underwear from girls I didn't even know, right? I didn't know Goliath, and I knew I didn't want her underwear either. Then again, you did see some really cute girls walking around campus sometimes, although most of them weren't really my type. Honestly, I wouldn't have turned down a pair from Linnea and Persenna. Those two did have a slightly musky smell, but at the end of the day, they were still sexy girls, and the scent of their fur wasn't half bad at close range. Still, right, Fitz. Fitz wouldn't like me doing that sort of thing. It means it's out of the question. There we go. Matter's been settled at last. I won't be tempted again. Get behind me, Satan. I'm not at all interested in the panties of some random girls. You want to steal their underwear, do it yourselves. But you cause Master Fitz any trouble, I won't be taking your side. Phew, there we go. That was a close one. That was a close one, girls in the university. If it wasn't for my condition, you might have ended up in some serious trouble. Well, if you want to keep things calm, that's your call, boss. Yeah, well, we'll do what you tell us. In any case, the incidents finally made the nature of my situation clear to me. I was evidently feared by a lot of people. Well, it wasn't hard to understand why, once I'd picked up on it. I'd beaten Fitz, who was the most powerful student in the school. I won dominion over all the infamous special students, and then I defeated a Demon King with one spell in a very public duel. It wasn't remotely surprising that the other students found me intimidating. From bodyguard, he told me after the fact, his battle aura couldn't be penetrated by anything less than king level spells or sword techniques, which meant you'd need to be on the level of Regerd or Ghislaine to even stand a chance against him. Since he relied on this to protect himself in combat, though, he apparently had a hard time beating people above that level. Anyway, assuming he was telling me the truth, my fully charged stone cannon was now as powerful as a king tier spell. That was definitely nothing to sneeze at. Of course, I was also a complete glass cannon. Swords fighters of this world could sheathe themselves in a protective veil of battle war without even thinking about it. No matter how hard I trained, my body never gained that superhuman strength and speed that Eris and Reacher tapped into so easily. My muscles did get bigger, but that was about it. All I really had going for me was my attack power. I did supposedly have the mana capacity of a demon god, whatever that was worth. Thanks to my eye of foresight, I could go toe to toe with enemies a bit above my level, but my body itself remained totally ordinary. I stand basically no chance against a truly powerful adversary. But I couldn't expect the students here to figure all that out. They'd seen a demonstration of my firepower and were probably assuming my abilities were just as impressive across the board. Could hardly blame an average student for steering clear of someone more powerful than a demon king. Still, you gotta have more confidence in yourself, boss. But that would help with your condition, Mew. Yep, but once you get that working, but once you get that working, make sure you jump on Linnea instead of me. Confidence, huh? Is that the root cause of my issues downstairs? Kind of sounded plausible, actually. I lost my fight against Orsed, got dumped by Eris, and then screwed up with Sarah. Couldn't find a way to use my strengths effectively, and ended up sinking into a funk. Maybe some confidence really was what I needed to get over this hump. And now a chance to regain some had been dropped in my lap. Everyone here was afraid of me, after all. Just to try it out, I tried walking through a crowded hallway with Linnea and Persenna following closely behind me. The massive bodies parted magically in front of me. This was definitely a brand new experience. I sort of felt like the director of a hospital doing his rounds, or maybe Moses parting the Red Sea. It was hard not to swagger. Out of the way, kids. This here's my hallway. The moment this thought crossed my mind, though, I stopped in my tracks. What if the guys who bullied me in my previous life had started off this exact same way? That realization took all the fun out of it instantly. Whatever I'd accomplished so far in this life, the fact was I'd spent my entire last one at the very bottom of a totem pole. That was never going to change, even my condition did cure itself. If I forgot about it, I'd probably end up repeating the exact same mistakes I made before. I had a more positive outlook on life now, sure, but I was still the same person deep down. Couldn't let myself forget that. This time around, I wasn't going to end up a shut-in. A little while after all this, I was in the library pursuing my research as usual. I was still focusing on teleportation and summoning, of course. The more I studied them, the more similarities I noticed. Calling someone something to you was fundamentally different from sending something or elsewhere, but in many other respects they were comparable. I felt like I needed to make an effort to actually learn summoning magic. I've been thinking about this for a while, but there wasn't a single professor in the university who specialized in that discipline. There were supposedly a few members of the Magician's Guild who could at least cast the spells, but even then they were mostly at the beginner or intermediate tier. All they could call forth were harmless familiars and mindless, obedient spirits. I want to learn from an actual expert. There were some people in the town who had risen into the advanced tier of enchantment magic, but that seemed to be very different from conventional summoning. They certainly wouldn't be able to tell me everything or anything about teleportation. Vice principal had bragged about the quality of the staff here, but evidently he was all talk. Then again, maybe this was just how things were. I hadn't encountered any magicians who specialized in summoning during my time as an adventurer either. It seemed possible there weren't many of them at all. Or maybe it was more like barrier and divine magic, where one specific country especially monopolized their methods. Still, I kind of felt like I'd met at least one person with some skills in summoning. I can't remember who it was, though. I felt like it would come back to me if I ran into them again. I probably hadn't seen them in a while, whoever they were. In any case, I'd read through most of the promising books on summoning magic in the library at this point. Felt like I hit a dead end, honestly. Something about myself couldn't take me any further than I'd gotten. It was Fitz who ended up finding me a way forward. I finally found someone, Rudius. There is one person here who's researching summoning magic on an expert level. Oh, really? Yeah, I found out about them from the principal and vice principal, actually, said Fitz with a slight mischievous grin. Who do you think it is? Well, it probably wasn't a professor. There was a handful of other students trying to learn summoning as best they could. Surely none of them knew anything more than advanced spells at best. What did that even leave us with then? Someone from the Magician's Guild, maybe? It wouldn't be surprising if they had a few experts in the field somewhere. Maybe one of their researchers was borrowing some of the school's facilities to conduct their experiments. Sort of. They are an A-ranked member of the guild, supposedly. Wow. Based on what I'd learned about their structure, as an A-ranked member of the Magician's Guild was the equivalent of a branch manager, while being S-ranked meant you were part of the central leadership group. Principal Georg was an S-ranked member. The vice principal was ranked B. Doesn't that mean they're pretty high up the hierarchy? Yeah, that's really something, don't you think? Even B-ranked members were entitled to some very niche or nice perks. You could start up a school for magicians anywhere you wanted. The guild would offer you financial and logistical support. So, who is it then? Well, I think you probably know their name already, at least. Did I? I felt like I would have remembered someone that important. Come on, tell me already. Okay then. It's Silent Seven Star from the special class. Ah, now this makes sense. I heard the name before, yes, and more than just the name, I'd heard about the things they'd accomplished at the school as well. First of all, there were their improvements to the menus of the dining halls. They'd arranged for a regular supply of food for the Kingdom of Asura, allowing them to use ingredients you normally never see in the Northern Territories. In addition, they'd introduced the world to something they called carry soup, which was supposedly their own invention. It was made by stewing ingredients like potatoes, carrots, onions, and others in a pot, with a complex spice blend thrown in for flavor. You ate it by spooning the thick brown soup into a hunk of bread. It was curry, basically. The flavor was very different from the curry I remembered, true, but the idea was very similar. Silent was also the one who proposed our official school uniforms. They had connections with designers and manufacturers back in Nasura and had arranged for them to be created there. The introduction of a universal uniform allowed the university to present its student body as a single group with a common purpose, rather than a chaotic mixture of different tribes and races that happened to be occupying the same campus. It improved their public image significantly. Even the blackboards found in all their classrooms were one of their innovations. Writing on a pure black surface with a small stick of limestone was a simple enough concept. Professors had found it exceptionally helpful. There were many other little improvements they made. If you went looking for them, they'd contributed to the university in small, subtle ways. In recognition of these accomplishments, the Magician's Guild had granted them a high rank in their organization. All that said, their innovations were also very familiar. They seemed like novel concepts to the residents of this world, but not to me. I wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. Uh, sorry. But I'd had my suspicions for some time. I thought I knew something about Silent's origins. Up until this moment, though, I hadn't voiced my suspicions. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to believe I was special. Maybe I assumed I was something totally unique. The one and only person in this world with memories from another. But of course, there was no logical reason why that should be the case. To be honest, I was a little frightened by the idea of Silent. I'd been hoping to avoid ever meeting them. I didn't want to meet someone who'd been given who'd been given the same advantages of me and made much better use of them. I was afraid they asked me why I was wasting time playing around when I could have accomplished so much more. You know how badly hearing that would hurt. But when I heard Fitz speak Silent's name, I quickly decided that the time had come. Got it. Thanks, Master Fitz. I'll see if I can track them down. I've probably gotten a little cocky in retrospect. I won the loyalty of a blessed child, being the top two delinquents in the school, earned the sympathy of its foremost genius, and even made friends with the king from the demon continent. How the student body looked at me in awe. I was trying not to let it go to my head, but I think it did. They can't turn up their nose at me after everything I've done here, right? I learned Silent's whereabouts from Vice Principal Genius about without any fuss at all. The school had granted them a laboratory consisting of 3 large rooms at the very back of the 3rd floor of the main research building. They spent almost all their time there, only emerging on very rare occasions. I decided to visit them by myself for reasons I wasn't totally sure of. It might have made sense to take Fitz along with me, but somehow I felt like I needed to go alone. I paused in front of the door that led to their chambers to take a deep breath and try to steady my nerves. I wasn't going to let myself flinch, even if Silent really was like me. I knocked lightly on the door. Come in. There was a tinge of irritation in the voice that answered from within. Slowly, I pushed the door open. The back of the room was dominated by countless scattered piles of books and papers. Strange magic implements of unclear purpose were everywhere. Magic stones and crystal lay in giant heaps. This was a laboratory, all right. Someone sat near the very back of this cluttered space. They turned to face me. I was struck speechless. Ah, we meet again. It was a woman. A black-haired woman. She wore something I remembered vividly. Something I'd never forget. A smooth, nearly featureless white mask. Ah! I fled the room, screaming in terror. It was the girl in the mask, the one who'd been with Orsted. I couldn't remember her name, but I remembered Orsted just fine. Orsted! Why Orsted? Been ready to meet another reincarnated person, but not Orsted! The terror I felt when he killed me flooded back into my mind. The fear had been almost numb in those final instants overwhelmed me. I felt the pain from when he'd crushed my lungs. I felt all the helplessness of watching him brush aside all my attacks. I felt the shock of him piercing my heart, and I felt the terror staring death in the face. All I could do was run. I ran, and I ran, and I ran. I didn't have the first idea where I was going. When I turned around, though, I found the girl following me. I didn't understand why. Why hadn't I gotten away from her by now? Was she that fast? That wasn't it, of course. I was just slow. Barely gotten anywhere, despite what my mind was telling me. It was just my heart dashing along at 100 miles an hour. I ran even further, desperate and clumsy. I tripped and fell. I stumbled like a drunkard. I worked so hard on my legs in case something like this ever happened, but they weren't cooperating with me at all. It almost felt like I was dreaming. My legs wobbled weakly underneath me with every step I managed to take. Silent was still following me closely. I faced down a Demon King without trembling. And yet, I looked down the flight of stairs in front of me. Fitz was standing at the bottom. He'd help me. He'd get me out of here. I felt myself relaxing slightly. You shouldn't scream in the sight of someone's face, you know. It's a little rude. Someone tapped me on the shoulder. When I turned around, I was face to face with her. With a weird little shriek, I twitched backward in terror and fell down the stairs, knocking myself unconscious in a slightly embarrassing fashion. Someone was stroking my head gently. It was deeply comforting for some reason. I almost felt like their hand was emitting some sort of healing energy. Glanced upward to investigate, found the face of Master Fitz. His hands were warmer than I would have expected. They were also oddly slender, soft, feminine. For no particular reason, I reached up to grab one. Oh, you're awake, Rudius. You really worried me there, falling down a whole flight of stairs all of a sudden. I was having a terrible dream. A woman in a white mask was just about to murder me. Fitz responded to this with an awkward little smile. I wasn't sure why. I wasn't sure
Just
where I
like-
was. Just, no.
And you, just like, and you were there, and I was there, and she was there. Oh no!
Just, oh no.
I mean, he
Just the
passes out,
fucking, the dramatic zoom in on the face where it looks like the Kubrick stare.
yeah. And then it's just like he just screams, and then
Yeah.
like cut to the opening, and then he
Yeah.
starts screaming.
Kawashita ya, Susoku, and it's just the fucking Madoka theme. I wasn't sure where I was, but for that matter, this clearly wasn't my room in the dorms, or even the dorms at all. For that matter, I'd been here, or for that matter, been here before, though. There were beds lined up in a row behind Fitz. Oh, right. It's the infirmary. I sat up and slightly looked around the room. The place looked almost empty, except for Fitz, myself, and the resident healer. Turned my head a little further. Ah! She was here as well. The woman in the white mask was sitting on the other side of my bed. I tumbled out of my bed and hit the floor with a painful thump. The woman responded by letting out an irritated sigh. So very rude. Why are you so terrified of me anyway? I saved your life last time, didn't I? Or, wait. You were nearly dead, weren't you? I guess you wouldn't remember then. That settled it. It was definitely her. It was definitely the girl who'd been traveling with Orsted. Where's Orsted? He's not here, she replied casually. He's a very busy man, you know. He isn't here? Really? Really? It wasn't like she had any reason to lie about that, right? I wouldn't worry about him anyway. He won't be coming after you anytime soon. Anytime soon? Does that mean he'll get out around to killing me eventually, or what? I don't think he has any plans to do so. But the possibility does exist. It all depends on you. At the very least, I wasn't going to get murdered right now. As soon as this fact was registered, a huge wave of relief washed over me. Always been a pretty short-term thinker, I guess. I don't quite understand what's going on here. Or sorry, I don't quite understand what's going on here. Would you mind explaining? Said Fitz, scratching his ears uncertainly as he turned from me to the masked girl. First of all, who are you, Derudius? We're perfect strangers, said the masked girl bluntly. Fitz puffed out his cheeks in irritation. I've never seen Rudius this upset about anything before. You obviously did something to him, didn't you? His tone was unusually hostile. He sounded very much like a protective upperclassman stepping to protect his helpless first-year friend. Honestly, the support was much appreciated. The last time we met, he was beaten rather badly by the Dragon God. Imagine he was remembering all of that. The Dragon God? One of the 7 great powers? That's right. Are you the Dragon God? Of course not. We just traveled together for a while. Answering Fitz's question in a disinterested tone, the masked girl pushed back her hair with one hand. Only just noticed, but she was wearing the University of Magic uniform. Still, I must admit I didn't expect to meet you here. She turned back to me. Even with the mask, I could tell she was watching me closely. But maybe that's just the nature of this route. That encounter at the Red Worm's lower jaw set the flag for us to find each other at this school. Before I could even try to respond, the masked girl reached in her cloak and pulled out a piece of paper. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Answer them honestly, please. Her tone was suddenly so commanding that I would just swallowed and nodded. First of all, do these look familiar to you? I took the paper she handed to me. Someone had written the words Shinohara Akito and Kuroki Satoshi on it. In Japanese. I instantly recognized them as names. At the same time, I realized my initial hunch had been correct. Second, can you understand what I'm saying? Third, which of these 2 are you? Her final 2 questions were spoken in Japanese as well. There was no longer any doubt about it whatsoever. She was just like me. As for the names on that piece of paper, though, they meant nothing to me. I hesitated for a moment, but I braced myself for this by now. Slowly, I replied in Japanese. I'm neither of them. I don't speak these names. I see, but you do speak Japanese at least. Huh? Said Fitz, peering down at the paper in confusion. What language are you 2 speaking? Rudius? The 2 of us share a homeland. That's all, said Silent calmly. What? That can't be right. I wasn't sure why Fitz felt so confident about this, but that was hardly important at the moment. Slowly, anxiously, I asked the crucial question. So you're like me, then? Silent nodded. That's right. I was tossed into this world out of nowhere without any warning. As she spoke, she reached up and took off her mask. At the sight of her face, something clicked inside my head. It was the girl. One from the last moments of my old life. The high school kid who'd been fighting with some boy and nearly got ran over by a truck. Or at the very least, it was someone who looked exactly like her. I was sure of this, but something felt a little strange about it. It took me a moment to figure out why. Then I realized her face was exactly the same. 15 years had passed since that day, but she didn't look any different at all. It was just bizarre. Wouldn't she have changed at least a little in all that time? No. Hold on. Why does she look anything like she used to? She'd been reincarnated here, should have been reborn into an entirely new body. Just like me. Before I could ask her anything, though, she answered my questions preemptively. I don't know how I was transported to this nightmare of a world, but I'm stuck here for now. If she'd been transported, our situations were actually rather different. I'd been reincarnated into a new body with only memories intact. But unless I was misunderstanding her, she'd basically been warped here just as she was, in the same body, the same age. My name is Nanahoshi Shizuka, and I'm Japanese. I've been using the name Silent 7 Star lately, though. Confusion and doubt swirled through my mind, tangling in my thoughts until I couldn't think of a single word to say. My silence didn't seem to discourage her. Where were you from, anyway? America? Or maybe Europe? You're obviously Caucasian, but you speak Japanese. Is one of your parents Japanese? Or maybe you're a foreigner who lived there? I felt like she'd gone well past the 3 questions she asked for at this point, but I wasn't in any shape to object. My tongue was thoroughly tied. In any case, this is clearly an important step forward. I was right to let you live. I suspected something like this the moment Orsted said he didn't recognize you. The girl was speaking rapidly now, with a hint of excitement in her voice. She didn't even seem to notice the fact that I was bewildered. Well, let's see if we can find a way to work together. What's your name? Rudius. I'm Rudius Greyrat. That's just the false name you're using in this world, right? I mean, your actual name. I didn't want to speak the name I'd used in my previous life. I really, really didn't. When I clammed up, Nanahoshi nodded agreeably. That's all right. I understand. You're wary of me, right? I can certainly understand that, especially after what happened at our last meeting. Don't worry, though. We're on the same side. Still, I wasn't even sure there were others like me until now. You're the first other person from Earth I've met in this world, you know? It's kind of comforting. Nanahoshi reached out to grasp me by the hand. Fitz frowned, but she didn't even seem to notice. Let's find a way back home together, okay? Somehow those words cut through all the confusion and uncertainty in my mind. A clear, definite answer came to my mind instantly. Hell no. I knocked her hand aside. I never want to go back to that world again. Huh? For the first time in a while, Nanahoshi was speechless. Rudius? Silent? Would you two please talk in a language I can understand? Fitz, of course, was even more lost than before. Mood in the infirmary was suddenly extremely awkward. Water. Chapter 6, The White Mask, Part 2. Nanahoshi Shizuka, whose name literally meant 7 stars in silent in Japanese.
Why's it got to be a white mask?
That's true. She was trying to do a Rimuru cosplay, okay?
She couldn't get the blue dye in time.
Nope, she couldn't. That was on its way from Amazon, so
It helps the stains fit in, you know? They blend in better on the
Yeah.
on the mask.
yeah.
Oh my god. All right.
Yep. Instead of reincarnating in this world as a baby, she'd simply reappeared here in her original body. Or she appeared here in her original body. Since she'd openly revealed all this to me, I would told her my story as well, explaining that I'd been reborn here rather than transported. I did tell her I'd died in a sudden accident, but I chose not to give her all the details. It's been pretty hideous in my previous life. She remembered what I looked like. It definitely wouldn't help her opinion of me. Appearances do matter, you know. Also, there was a chance it was somehow my fault she ended up here in the first place. I didn't want her going after me because of that. I talked with Nanahoshi for some time, speaking Japanese again for the first time in many years. We didn't know each other very well at this point, so we had Master Fitz sit with us as an observer, but the conversation itself was entirely in Japanese. Felt a little bad about that. He must have been bored stiff. At the very start of our talk, Nanahoshi made something of a declaration. I'm not interested in this tedious world. I don't plan to use my knowledge to make it flourish like some ridiculous manga or light novel. I'm acting solely for my own benefit, basically. All I care about is getting home as quickly as possible. Her priorities, in other words, were the exact opposite of my own. I wanted to live out the rest of my life in this world. I didn't enjoy hearing her talk about how tedious and ridiculous she felt it or found it, but I could understand how she felt. She just didn't fit in, basically. She never found a place in this world. I knew how it felt to be in that position, and I understand the temptation to look at everything around you with boredom and contempt. I wasn't planning to try and correct her point of view. Still, Nanahoshi was already wary of me. My initial refusal to cooperate had been a mistake. I could tell she was hiding some things from me, which made perfect sense, of course. It'd be stupid to put your trust in someone who might turn out to be an enemy. I was still a little wary of her myself, honestly. That said, it did feel like I could have handled this better. I hadn't run away screaming at first. Maybe I told her something like, I'm going to stay here and I'll help you find a way back home. She might have let her guard down at least a little. Oh well, no point crying over spilt milk. Nanahoshi told me she'd originally appeared somewhere in the kingdom of Ashira. Specifically, she landed in the middle of an empty field. She only learned that later that it was in Asura. There was nothing around her and no one in sight. She had no idea what to do. Fortunately, Orsted had shown up and taken her under his protection. Why was Orsted there? I don't know, but it doesn't seem like he's the one who brought me here. In the kingdom of Asura, Nanahoshi learned about this world, starting with the local language, then moving on to the basics of magic, the economic system, and the lifestyles of its people. She was pretty similar to me in that respect. Amazingly, it had only taken her a year to master the human tongue. Orsted was cursed to be hated by someone who saw him, so I guess she needed to learn how to do her own talking as quickly as possible. Necessity can be a great motivator. In total, Nanahoshi spent 2 years in Asura. In that time, she earned money with her knowledge of our world's cuisine and clothing, spent that money to obtain power, and then used that power to secure reliable streams of passive income. She also made sure people knew that the Dragon God, one of the 7 great powers, was backing her. With some skillful negotiation on her part, it was enough to convince some powerful Asuran merchants to arrange stable distribution routes for her products. This time, she had enough money to allow the rest of her life in luxury. It was all well and good that she'd learned the language and built up a solid financial foundation, but these were only stepping stones towards her real objective, getting back to the world where she belonged. She left Asura behind and accompanied Orsted on his travels for a solid year. They traveled all around the world looking for information on how she might return and searching for the 2 acquaintances who might possibly have been sent over here as well. Orsted had many enemies, so there had been a number of battles along the way, but in almost every case he defeated his foes in an instant. His fight against me had been one of these, of course, but she said there was something unusual about me, and apparently advised Orsted to revive me. Offered my sincere thanks for that. However, we gotten to that point, I would have died if Nanahoshi hadn't spoken up. I have to ask, though, what's Orsted's issue with the man god? I was really startled when he just attacked me like that. I don't know the details, but it sounds like they have a feud going on. Also, he said it's best to take out the man god's apostles quickly because they cause all sorts of trouble if you let them run wild. I could really do without people murdering me or feuds I wasn't even part of. For the record, I wasn't that guy's apostle either. I've been basically doing what he told me for a while now, sure, but we only saw each other once a year or so at most. Our relationship wasn't even that close. In any case, Nanahoshi had traveled across the world, meeting all sorts of people along the way. Orsted was widely hated, of course, but his title was a valuable tool when used correctly. A single letter signed by the Dragon God was enough to get her personal meetings with famous mages, high-ranking knights, and even monarchs. You made it around the world in a year? That part of the story struck me as a little strange. It had taken me 3 years to accomplish that, after all. Yes, we use a special method to travel, though. What kind of method? Warping devices, basically. In this world, they call them teleportation circles. Have you heard of them? I recognize the name, but that's about it. Where had I heard that about them before? Well, we were walking across the Demon Continent, right? Yeah, it was Riju who told me about them. That really brought me back. Wait a second, though. Weren't all those destroyed centuries ago? There are some that survived intact. They're hidden inside ruins that date back to the Human-Demon War. No kidding? Where could I find these ruins? I can't tell you. Orsted asked me to keep that a secret. Teleportation is apparently a forbidden form of magic, so he didn't want me talking about this too carelessly. Ah, got it. In any case, I was just tagging along with him. I don't even remember where most of them were exactly. Rather than trekking all around the world, they basically just made their way from one teleportation circle to the next a couple dozen times. She was probably telling the truth about not knowing where they were then. If you were teleported to some unfamiliar land without a map, you'd have no way of figuring out your own location accurately. Still, it would be nice to track down at least one of those things. They sounded incredibly convenient. Never knew when you might need to travel halfway around the world after all. Anyway, back to the main topic. Nanahoshi didn't find the people she was looking for, but she'd met many other interesting characters on her journey. Eventually, one of them told her someone may well have summoned you into this world. Oh, who told you that exactly? I can't say. They asked me not to tell anyone I'd met them. Why is that? It's my own safety. Should people learn that you met me, you'll find yourself plagued by swarms of greedy, power-hungry jackals. Be wise not to mention my name to anyone if you prefer to avoid that. In their words. Apparently, the mysterious unnamed individual was a world-class authority on summoning magic, but even they didn't have any idea how a living person from another world could be summoned into this one. Even putting aside the another world bit, it was theoretically impossible to summon a human being from anywhere. Still, Nanahoshi finally had something to work off. She decided to set up a new base of operations at the Renoa University of Magic, where she could thoroughly research summoning at her leisure. An enormous donation from her savings was enough to earn her a B-rank membership at the Magician's Guild and her position as a special student. Once she was on campus, she used her connections in the Kingdom of Asura to introduce the new uniforms and various other improvements. She even arranged a long overdue reform of the general curriculum and upgrades of the professor's teaching tools. With the blink of an eye, she'd earned herself A-rank status at the guild. They'd even gone as far as to offer her an S rank if she was willing to share all the knowledge she possessed, but she declined the offer. Sorry to repeat myself, but I'm not remotely interested in reforming this world for the better, or climbing my way up to the top. Because of this attitude, she never made things she wouldn't use herself, and didn't provide them to others either. That seemed kind of cold-hearted to me, honestly. Surely it couldn't hurt to make the world a little more pleasant for everyone, right? Apparently, sensing my unspoken disagreement, Nanahoshi let out a sigh. Look, we don't really belong in this world, do we? If we try to change its history too dramatically, we might end up getting ourselves erased. Erased? What are you talking about? Haven't you heard of any, or don't you read any science fiction? Well, haven't you read any science fiction? What if there's some kind of cosmic force that tries to keep events moving down their proper path? Now that she mentioned it, I remembered reading a manga where that was a major plot point. I think they called it the law of causality or something. Is there really anything like that here? He was probably reading Steins Gate. I have no idea. It can't hurt to be careful, though. I felt like one of those issues popped up more than time travel stories where you had people jumping back into the past. It didn't seem like something we really needed to worry about since we landed in a totally different world, but whatever. It was her choice at the end of the day. Once she secured herself a private research space where no one would ever bother her, Nanahoshi devoted herself to an intense study of summoning magic. She'd also chosen to use a false name here, being famous enough that people would have tracked her down to pester her. Silent Seven Star didn't seem like a very subtle choice, though. I would have gone with something other than a literal translation. Maybe she wanted to keep it similar enough that her two missing friends could recognize it. Who knew if those two were even around, though? I never heard anything about either of them. In any case, to learn summoning magic, you had to begin by getting familiar with magic circles. While more dynamic magic, like elemental and healing spells, were mostly cast using incantations, you needed summoning, or you needed circles for static magic, such as barriers and summoning. Nanahoshi had devoured all the information she could on magic circles, learning all about the principles behind them. Rather than turning to the professors for instructions, she taught herself based on old books and records. The people of this world are very set in their ways, you know. I suppose it makes sense, given the harshness of their environment. But I'm looking to do something totally unprecedented, so I can't expect anyone to teach me much. What did that say about me? Learn about almost everything I knew about magic from the people of this world. Maybe it didn't matter that much, though. I wasn't looking to achieve anything revolutionary the way she was. And of course, we don't have any mana, continued Nanahoshi. It gets frustrating when they're constantly assuming that you do. Huh? I replied moronically. She doesn't have any mana. What? What, did I say something odd? Well, I've got mana, actually. I can cast magic fine. In fact, just the other someone told me I have a world-class mana capacity. Nanahoshi pressed a hand over her mask. I couldn't see her expression, but it was obvious this news had startled her. I see. I suppose you're different because you reincarnated. My mana capacity is apparently 0. I blinked. Literally 0? That means she couldn't use magic or any magic whatsoever? Everything in this world has contained, excuse me, everything in this world contains some degree of mana, by the way. Even corpses have a little. But we came from a world where it didn't exist, so I thought it made sense for me to lack it. Corpses had mana?
Come on, Michael.
That was news to me. But if magic was really such a fundamental part of the world, wouldn't lacking it cause you some sort of problems? In that case, I suppose this doesn't apply to you either, does it? Nanahoshi, or with those words, Nanahoshi removed her mask once again. It was strange seeing such a recognizably Japanese face again after all this time. She was no supermodel, but she was still pretty cute. I've seen a lot of gorgeous people since coming to this world, so my standards are probably too high.
I want to go see my bosses to let them know.
You good?
Do what?
Everything okay? Good?
Was I speaking out loud?
Yeah.
I think he just saw like Discord like chime up.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. You were saying something, but I didn't know if you were speaking to me or not.
No.
Oh.
I was just thinking about stuff and I didn't realize I was saying anything out loud.
Oh, that's okay. It's all good. I thought you were trying to tell me something. Like I was like
No,
muted
you're
or something.
good.
I've just
Yeah.
been muting my mic and listening, and so like that way my stray thoughts don't interrupt you. Though to be fair,
Oh,
I
that's
have been
okay.
laughing out loud at a few of the things that you've been reading. So
Oh,
yeah, it's good
Like the
times.
huh?
Good times.
I'm trying to put more emotion in there. My basic line is very flat.
You're doing
So-
well, though.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Okay. So my standards were probably too high. I could see her being one of the cutest girls in her class back in Japan. It's been about 5 years since I arrived in this world, but I haven't aged at all. 5 years should have changed her at least slightly, but she still looked 16 or 17. Apparently her body really wasn't getting any older. Well, that sounds like a bit of a silver lining at least. Nanahoshi frowned, then put her mask back on with a small snort of laughter. I suppose it's preferable to growing old in a foreign land, at least. Come to think of it, the version of me that showed up in the man god's dreams never seemed to age either. Maybe that was just how it worked with people who came here from other worlds. I don't have the first idea why I'm not getting older, though. It's just bizarre. Just for the record, I'm aging normally so far. Right. I suppose the cause is something inherent to my body, then. I'll have to look into it if I get the chance. There might be something I can do about it. Nanahoshi opened up a small notebook and jotted down a brief note. She was evidently keeping track of things she realized or wanted to follow up on later. Okay then, let's get back on topic. Nanahoshi had learned all about magic circles. Generally, you made them by pulverizing magic crystals and mixing the powder with some specific ingredients to create a special paint, which you then used to draw very specific patterns. Once the paint settled on a suitable surface, it would be absorbed, making it very difficult to erase. Pumping mana into the paint would magnify the power of your magic and produce a specific effect determined by the structure of the circle. As a general rule, the magical paint would evaporate after a single use. You often needed some very specific things to make it, and the list of ingredients varied depending on the nature of the spell. In particular, large-scale spells at the king tier level or above required some very unusual catalysts. You'd usually need the financial backing of a country to get your hands on everything you required. Did those teleportation circles in the ruins vanish after one use too? No, they worked differently. They were carved into the place using a special technique. Interesting. Making magic circles from paint was apparently the norm these days, but back in the golden days, there had been a much wider variety of techniques in use. Some of those methods hadn't been completely lost to time. You carve a magic circle in stone and pump it full of magic directly, for example. Nahoshi herself couldn't use that method, so she hadn't spent much time studying it, but it was widely used in the creation of magical implements. Isn't that more common than the paint thing, actually? I can't use that technique, so I don't particularly care. Magic circles could be used for almost any sort of spells if you had a good pattern, the right paint, and sufficient mana, but there was just one major problem. The patterns had been handed down orally through the generations, and most of them were lost over the centuries. There was no one out there capable of devising new ones anymore either. If you wanted to discover a new magic circle, your only option was to find some old scroll left forgotten in the back of a royal treasury, or stumble across an engraving in the depths of an ancient ruin. This had been the state of affairs for some time, in fact, until Nanahoshi arrived to shake things up. She analyzed the patterns of the known magic circles, drawn up her own attempts, and carried out countless experiments. Eventually, she succeeded in creating her own brand new patterns. This was all seriously impressive. The more she talked, the more I wanted to learn from her. Before I could even broach the subject, Nanahoshi shot me down. I can't go handing out my findings to everyone who asks. I wanted to object, but she wasn't done yet. Raising a hand, she looked me calmly in the face. Let's make a deal. This was probably what she'd been building up to for some time. I don't have any mana or any means to defend myself. I don't get any older, but I'm fairly sure I'm not immortal. Right. I can't stand this world, honestly. None of it feels real to me. Food is just atrocious. Their sense of morality is bizarre, and everything is so incredibly inconvenient. They don't even have shampoo here, for crying out loud. And more importantly, everyone I care about is back in our world. I want to go back there very badly. What about you? I like this world a lot, I replied immediately, and I've got more friends here than in our old world at this point. I don't want to go back. I see. You don't have a family you left behind or anything? I've got no regrets. I didn't even want to think about my old life. I really didn't. 15 years ago, I decided to do the best I could with my second chance here. All sorts of things had happened since then. Some wonderful, some painful, but I was pretty satisfied in my life right now. All things considered, if someone tried to drive me back home after all this time, I wouldn't go without a fight. I see. I suppose you must have had a good, long life. Nanahoshi was misinterpreting the situation slightly, but whatever. It wasn't like I told her that I was a smelly loser who jumped in front of the truck at the last moment. All I said that was that my death had been accidental. You and I clearly have different goals, then. But we both have something to offer each other, so let's find a way to cooperate. Is there something I have that you want? You said it yourself earlier. You've got a world-class mana capacity, right? She wanted my mana, of all things? I still remember seeing mass piles of magic crystals lying around a room earlier. All those weren't enough? I'd like you to help me with my experiments. In exchange, I'll teach you what you want to know. If you're looking for answers I don't have, then I'll do my best to find them. I know lots of influential people, and I'm quite a skilled researcher. I'll help you out, or also help you out in any other way I can, of course. So you're looking for a give-and-take relationship, basically? That's right. Simple enough, really. Nanahoshi seemed like a very smart, resourceful person. I wasn't sure how much help I would really be to her. Maybe she was just showing some compassion for her fellow Earthling, though. She did say something about being glad to meet another of her kind. Okay, sounds good to me. I accept. Glad to hear it. Don't go changing your mind later, all right? A man never goes back on his word. I have to say, it's kind of nice to hear a Japanese cliche again. I know what you mean. Nobody gets any of my references over here. Nanahoshi cleared her throat and settled herself in her seat. She took 3 rings out of her pocket and slipped them on one by one. Is there some point to all this? Shall we get right to it, then? Is there something you want to ask me? I heard you're looking into the displacement incident. I told you that. I shot a glance over at Fitz, who was sitting silently off to the side with a vaguely sulky expression on his face. Maybe they'd spoken a little while I was unconscious. Noticing my gaze, Fitz tilted his head uncertainly to one side. What is it, Rudius? Something wrong, Nanahoshi asked me, still in Japanese. We're going to talk about the displacement incident now. Nanahoshi, would you mind speaking in the human tongue for this? All right, then. Fitz moved next to me and turned to face Nanahoshi. From now on, we'd be using the same language everyone in the room can understand. I don't know the specifics of why that disaster took place, Nanahoshi began reluctantly. However, it closely coincided with the moment that I arrived in this world. I had my suspicions, of course, from the moment I learned when and where she'd arrived in this world. but she'd no doubt learned from Fitz that I'd been one of those affected by the calamity. In other words, I prompted, the incident was probably a side effect caused by whatever brought me here. In effect, Nanahoshi paused for a moment before continuing. In effect, it happened because of me. Right, not a huge surprise. I've been anticipating those words for a while now. Summoning and teleportation were similar in many ways, and Nanahoshi had apparently been summoned here by the moment we were teleported. Uh, it all fit together too neatly for it to be a coincidence. If anything, I was relieved that disaster wasn't related to my arrival here. Fitz, however, reacted very differently, with a strangled shout of, I'll kill you! He jumped up and swung his arm threateningly. What? You? Yelped Nanahoshi, throwing up one of her hands. One of her rings shone brightly, and Fitz spell failed. What was that thing? Realizing that his magic wasn't going to work, Fitz leapt towards Nanahoshi and began throwing punches. The second of her rings shone, and the fist bounced off with some kind of invisible barrier. Do you have any idea how much we suffered? My mother and father died because of you! Those rings had to be magical. None of Fitz's attacks were getting through. Don't just stand there, Rudius Grey Rat, shouted Nanahoshi, clearly flustered. Do something! Stepping forward, I grabbed my panting friend by the arm before he could slam his fist against the barrier again. Calm down, Master Fitz. Are you serious, Rudius? She just admitted it was her fault. How can you be so calm? You suffered too, didn't you? I'd never seen Fitz this worked up before. He was normally so cool-headed. It was hard to blame him for losing control, of course. He lost people he loved in that disaster. For 5 years, he'd probably come to terms with that loss to some degree. That didn't mean he could stay calm when confronted by the person responsible for it. Based on what I'd learned so far, though, the displacement incident wasn't Nanahoshi's fault. Apart from everything else, I was right there with her in the moment both of us were likely summoned to this world. I had no idea why she'd show up 10 years after I did. The bottom line was, she didn't choose to be brought over here. Someone else made that decision for her. Oh, right, we were talking Japanese when we discussed that, weren't we? No wonder Fitz had misunderstood. He didn't have any context at all. I'm sorry, we didn't explain this clearly enough. She didn't come here of her own free will, Master Fitz. She's a victim, too. A victim? Wait, really? Fitz was breathing rapidly, or still breathing rapidly, but he seemed to take my words at face value. With a long sigh, he slumped back into his chair. I'm sorry, said Nanahoshi. I could have phrased that more carefully. It wasn't my intention to upset you. That's all right. I apologize for jumping to conclusions. Fitz didn't seem completely calm yet. There was still a fierce light in his eyes for one thing, but it seemed like he'd gotten himself under control, at least for now. Had Nanahoshi taken out those rings on the assumption I'd fly into a rage and try to murder her? Or had Nanahoshi taken out those rings on the assumption I'd fly into a rage and try to murder her? Girl had guts, I'd give her that. Those were some nice little trinkets. I would have said her too for myself, honestly. Maybe they were her primary means of self-defense. Anyway, I don't know much more about the incident itself. I was summoned here because of it, but I have no idea what made it or who made it happen, what their motives were, or why it led to such an enormous disaster. No one does. Orsted didn't have any theories either. No, he just said it was unprecedented. Well, if a so-called god couldn't figure it out, we probably weren't going to find out any answers either. I seem to remember the man god saying it was Orsted's fault, but thanks to that curse, everyone who met Orsted hated him. I felt like the man god might be under its effects as well. They had some kind of feud going on even outside of that, right? Might just have blamed Orsted by default. If Nanahoshi was telling me the truth, at least, it was hard to imagine Orsted actually played a role in causing the incident. Why would he summon her here and then spend all that time helping her return home? That didn't make much sense at all. Why didn't you say it happened because of you then? Well, it did, in a sense. I wanted to get that fact out there right away. I didn't want anyone using it as an excuse to turn against me later. I see. Instead of trying to hide something that might turn me against her, she told me the truth bluntly, and then explained herself. That did seem a better approach when you consider the risk of me figuring it out somewhere down the line. Of course, I still had to keep in mind there was a chance that either Nanahoshi or Orsted was a very skilled liar. That's a shame, though. I was hoping you'd have some idea what happened. I'm afraid not, but I do have a plan to move forward with my research. If your research progresses far enough, do you think you'll figure out the truth about the displacement incident? I should be able to explain what happened on a theoretical level, at least. I nodded thoughtfully. The way she cautiously clarified her promise made her seem more trustworthy somehow. But to make that happen, I'll need a great deal of mana. I see. I guess I'm the man of your dreams then. Yeah, I suppose so. Fitz scowled as we spoke. I got the feeling he still didn't trust Nanahoshi completely. Still, I never expected such a nice, friendly guy like him to flip out like that. He did say someone he knew came through the incident okay, but I hadn't known that both his parents died. It's probably smart to let him cool down a little before I said anything. Okay, okay, Nanahoshi. I need a little more time to think about all this. I'll come back to see you in a few days, okay? Let's work out the specifics then. All right, I'll see you then. With that final exchange of words, I left the infirmary with Master Fitz in tow. After I explained Manahoshi's situation to Fitz in greater detail, he finally seemed to calm down a little. His anger visibly faded when I told him that she'd been brought into this world by force and was desperate to make her way home. Once I finished, though, he asked me a slightly odd question. Anyway, Rudius, what do you think of her? The question was a slightly tricky one. It was easy for me to believe her story since I'd been reincarnated here myself, but it must have been sounding seriously outlandish to Fitz. The way Nanahoshi talked, it was obvious she didn't care very much about this world or what happened to the people in it. She just wanted to get the hell out of Dodge. Like me, she had nothing but success since coming here. Maybe it all felt trivial to her. I wasn't going to brag about all my hard work or whatever, but I didn't really like her attitude. To be honest, there are some things about her I don't like very much, but I do think she's relatively trustworthy. Okay. That's good then. Fitz smiled a little awkwardly. Maybe he'd been planning to lecture me about trusting people too easily if I responded differently. I didn't really know how Nanahoshi could have worked out a plan to trick me, considering I'd approached her first. I guess her story was just that hard to believe. Were you worried about me, Master Fitz? Thanks. Huh? No, I wasn't worried or anything, but you're welcome anyway, I guess. Watching the guy fidget like this was always weirdly heartwarming. In any case, Nanahoshi and I had now established a tentative partnership. There were still dozens of questions I wanted to ask her, but there was no need to rush things. I just had to work my way down the list one by one. Interlude, Sylphiette, Part 4. Lately, I've been feeling more and more anxious about the situation. Silent had turned out to be a girl. That was no big surprise in itself. Some of the princess's sources had suggested it might be the case, in fact. In hindsight, lots of her little innovations were things that a woman might appreciate. She'd improved our food, our clothing, and the soap we used to clean our hair. Once you realized that she'd been acting for her own sake, it all made total sense. My anxiety wasn't about her, really. It was more about Rudy. For some reason, he seemed devoted to Silent. There were lots of beautiful women in his life already. Linnea, Prasenna. Alina Lise was dating Cliff now, sure, but she still counted. Rudy had never shown much interest in them. Silent was a different story, though. For some reason, she was special to him. She had a complicated problem she was struggling with, and he wanted to help her. That was probably a part of it. Rudy liked helping people out. But it wasn't just that. There was some special connection between them. One I couldn't understand, and it was definitely bringing the two of them closer together. They probably didn't have romantic feelings for each other. I didn't get the impression that Rudy had fallen for her, but his relationship with her seemed more intimate than any of his others. Were they even closer than I'd been with Rudy back in Buena Village? Maybe. Since Rudy started helping out with Silent's experiments, he was spending less time looking into the displacement incident with Fitz, and spending more time with her, of course. When you spend enough time with someone, it's not unusual for something like romantic feelings to develop almost out of nowhere. Back when he'd befriended Linnea and Prasenna, I hadn't been that concerned, but now it wasn't hard for me to imagine Silent taking him away. That made my heart throb painfully. Did I hate Silent or something? It wasn't like we'd even talked that much. I didn't have a reason to hate her. I just didn't want her taking Rudy from me. That was all. She popped up out of nowhere, and now she was acting like she'd known him forever. She sat right next to him casually, like they'd been friends for years. That was where I was supposed to be. I wasn't sitting there now, sure, so I couldn't really come out and complain about it. But if she was going to claim that seat, I wanted her to do it right. I wanted her to spend lots and lots of time with him first, make lots of memories. Either that or I wanted her to move further away. Maybe then I could accept whatever this was. Were Rudy and I really just going to drift apart like this? The princess said I could take my time with it, but if there was no chance at all, she wanted Fitz to stop interacting with Rudy altogether. The two of us would go our separate ways. Even if Fitz left his life entirely, Rudy would keep on going just fine, moving ahead the same as always. Silent would take my seat for herself. Maybe they end up spending the rest of their lives together. I didn't like that thought. Not one bit. This wasn't going well at all. But what was I supposed to do? The answer was obvious enough. I had to come up and tell him who I was, and then tell him how I felt. At least that would be a step forward, one way or another. But no matter obvious, excuse me, that's weird. No matter how obvious that was, I couldn't get my legs to move. Thought, what if he says no? Kept flashing through my head and kept me from moving. If I didn't do something, I'd definitely regret it, but I couldn't bring myself to act. When I had become such a coward. I used to be pretty timid as a child, sure, but I thought I'd grown braver than this over the last few years. Had my courage fallen out of my pocket somewhere? I really wish someone would bring it back to me. Chapter 7, A Day at the University of Magic. It had been a year since I'd enrolled at the Renoa University of Magic, and I just turned 16. In this world, people only really celebrated their 5th, 10th, and 15th birthdays, so I kind of forgotten about which... Oh, wait, I think this is Rudius. I could have figured out by checking the age of my adventurer's card every morning, but it wasn't something I took out too often these days. I didn't really care much that anyway. Age is just a number, right? After meeting Nanahoshi, my normal routine had changed somewhat. I started off my days by waking up early, getting dressed, and going out to train. This was the same as always, but sometimes Bodyguardi would show up when I started my sword drills. He didn't join in or give me any advice, though. For the most part, he just watched me silently with his arms folded or resting on his hips, nodding thoughtfully now and then. I had no idea what conclusions he was reaching, and he never shared them with me. I didn't try to start a conversation either. If he did open his mouth, he'd probably start laughing loudly enough to wake up the whole neighborhood. Honestly, I wasn't sure how to interact with Bodyguardi in general. He seemed like a nice guy, but I never knew what he was thinking. He was an actual Demon King, so I wanted to avoid accidentally ticking him off. One morning, however, he spoke to me for once. I find your training fascinating, boy. But I have to ask, is there some point to it? Ouch, that's a harsh way to start a conversation. Well, I don't think staying in shape is pointless, but you have an absurd amount of mana, Bodyguardi interrupted. I don't understand why you train without cloaking yourself in battle aura. Again, with a battle aura. I'd heard about words many times before, but everyone was always super vague about how you were supposed to cloak yourself in it. This seemed like a golden opportunity. Couldn't hurt to ask, right? What exactly is a battle aura anyway? It's mana! Nothing more, nothing less. The way Bodyguardi explained things was basically a technique that used the mana in you to dramatically improve your body's physical capabilities, strengthening yourself to unnatural extremes. That bit was more or less what I expected to hear. How do you actually do that, though? Simply spread a field of mana over every part of your body, then press it tightly against you. Oh, now that sounded like some useful advice. Or now that sounded like useful advice. The university clearly needed to replace its professors with a bunch of demon kings. Once I mastered this, maybe I could gain a few power levels. Maybe would have shot immediately, doing my best imitations of various super saiyans and nen users. But no matter how much I manipulated my mana, there was no real change in my physical capabilities. It sort of felt like I might be getting stronger sometimes, but that was probably just the placebo effect at work. Well, that's odd. You've got no talent for this, boy. Bodyguardi went on to bluntly explain the reason for my failure. Normally, battle aura was something people began to automatically generate after spending some time doing physical training. On the other hand, I put in a good amount of effort on that front, but I still couldn't cloak myself in the aura even when I tried. That meant I just didn't have the knack for it. This did happen now and then. Some people could never generate any battle aura at all, no matter how intense their training regimen. Whoa! Not like you have any need of it, of course. Lapis never cloaked himself in battle aura either, but he was truly powerful. When he talked about my abilities, Bodyguardi often used the demon god Lapis as a point of comparison. I assumed it was because he also possesses heavy supply of mana, or a mass supply of mana. Did you actually meet Lapis, Sir Body? Indeed, I did. He annihilated most of my body with a single blow. It took me some time to perform after that. I thought he'd actually killed me for a moment. Is there some reason you sounded so proud of that? Well, you fought against a powerful opponent and lived to tell the tale. Maybe that was something worth bragging about, regardless of the details. According to Bodyguardi, Lapis had been an extremely shady character, but he was also a master at making use of his mana. Could I get stronger if I learned to fight like Lapis did? I don't recommend trying. If you tried to use your mana the same way he did, you'd blow your own body apart in an instant. It's bizarre for a human to have that much mana inside them in the first place, you know. Channeling too much mana at once could apparently destroy a magician from the inside out. On an intuitive level, that did make sense to me. Infusing yourself with magic felt a little bit like stretching your arm out as far as it could possibly go. If you kept pushing things beyond that limit, you'd probably end up with the equivalent of a broken bone or two. The Lapis, on the other hand, had possessed not only a giant supply of mana, but also the sturdy body and technical skill necessary to use it fully. I was a fragile, clumsy little thing by comparison. No matter how hard I trained, I was never going to reach his level. But why do you even want to get stronger, boy? Why? Well, I mean, someone had nearly killed me not too long ago. I want to get strong enough to prevent that from happening again. That seemed reasonable to me. I've known many men who sought fame and strength to an excessive degree, and it never ended well for them. Take my nephew, for example. Too proud by half, that one. He settled down a bit after very nearly dying, but up until then, he was obsessed with becoming the strongest man in the world. There are more important things in life than that, you know. Like what? Like women, said Bodygotti with a self satisfied grin. Once you have one of your own, you understand. To be fair, people who wanted power for his own sake were usually villains. At least in the manga I read back in my previous life, but I wasn't going to devote my life to the pursuit of power or anything. Being strong let you swagger around confidently, but it didn't make you a better or happier person in and of itself. I gotta understand why you prioritize something fun like womanizing instead. Thanks to my condition, though, that wasn't exactly an option at that moment. That reminds me, Your Majesty. Yes? What is it? You wouldn't happen to know of a cure for impotence, would you? No. I guess even Demon Kings don't know everything. After finishing up with training, I ate a quick breakfast and headed for class. My morning started with intermediate detoxification magic. Even at the beginner level, detoxification enabled you to cure a wide range of common ailments and purge the body of most poisons. When you got into the rare illnesses or the venom used by high rank monsters, you need to know more advanced spells with specific incantations that required using lots of mana. Intermediate detoxification classes were and above were mostly about learning those ultra targeted spells. Their incantations were painfully long. Even at the intermediate level, you'd have to chant a phrase several times longer than anything used for an offensive spell. Modern incantations were said to be abbreviated versions of older, less refined phrases, but when you got into more advanced tiers of certain disciplines, it felt like they'd never been shortened at all. There were a lot of these to learn, as well. For intermediate detoxification, you had to memorize more than 50 different incantations. Some of these actually created poisons, to my surprise. Maybe they had some medicinal uses in certain cases. At the advanced tier, you need to learn more than 100 spells. Once you hit that level, you need some serious memorization skills to keep up. At the Saint tier, there was supposedly less need to memorize things, but the amount of mana required to cast a single spell ramped up dramatically. And as for the King tier spells and above, you were looking at things researched and devised by one nation or another and mostly guarded as state secrets. Some would create poisons incurable by any ordinary magic as a threat towards other countries. Others would create specific antidotes to those same poisons. It was basically a kind of arms race. Incidentally, the only divine tier detoxification spell I heard of was one that cured a strange and terrible illness called petrification syndrome. If left untreated, it would slowly transform the mana inside your body into a magic stone. Only one person had ever been able to use the spell in question. It was guarded carefully in the great cathedral of Milashion. Just a side note, as you moved from intermediate detoxification to advanced and onward, the incantations grew steadily longer. Based on what I'd seen, a king tier spell might require you to recite the contents of an entire book out loud. My new brain wasn't half bad at remembering things, but I still felt like I had my work cut out for me. Honestly, monks and priests never seemed to catch a break, no matter what world they were in. They always had tedious chants to memorize. Personally, I was planning to just carry around a book with the incantations in them. Excuse me. My main reason for taking this class was to see if I might find some spell that could cure my condition. But from what the professor told me, there wasn't anything in the intermediate tier that could make make me any perkier. Not surprising, really. After my first class ended, it was time for lunch. I've been eating outside for months, but it was getting cold out there these days, so I decided to make myself a little shelter. I used earth magic to surround one of the outdoor tables with 4 walls and a roof. Then I opened a hole in the middle of the table and got a fire going inside of it. Once I had a hole in the ceiling to let the smoke out, I had myself a comfy little hut. It was actually really nice sitting around the table since the fire warmed the stone nicely. Unfortunately, Vice Principal Genius quickly showed up and chewed me out. Rather than making myself a building outside, I was encouraged to use the building they already had. I decided to start eating on the first floor of the dining hall instead. I expected Zeno to protest, but he accepted it readily enough. Julie wouldn't be able to sit with us on the third floor anyway. Apparently, there was an informal rule up there that slaves weren't allowed to use the chairs. It didn't apply elsewhere, of course. Zenoba didn't treat Julie like a slave, even if she technically was one. He regarded her as a junior apprentice in the art of figurine making. Nothing more and nothing less. That said, she was still a subordinate, so you did see him ordering around every now and then. The treatment of slaves varied widely in this world, depending on where you were and who bought you. I wasn't sure Zenoba's treatment of her qualified as good or bad. At least he didn't act like she was less than human. Shit, that's Rudius. What's with that guy anyway? How the hell did he take over the special class in a single year? I was there when he took out the Demon King, man. He only used one spell. When I entered the dining hall, the crowd parted in front of me, and I heard murmuring from all the sides. I didn't remember taking over the special class, and my one hit on Bodyguardi was repaid with 3 punches, but whatever. This wasn't a bad feeling, although I had to make sure it didn't go to my head. Orset had taught me a very painful lesson about the dangers of getting overconfident. My ego got too big, I just ended up face planting again. I followed the path open by the crowd and found myself led directly to the table at the very back of the dining hall. I see it's finally gotten too cold for you to eat outside, boy. Bodyguardi was sitting there. For some reason, he was chugging from massive mugs of booze, which were definitely not served here. Judging from the reddish tone of his jet black skin, he was probably mildly drunk at this point. The other students, standing at a safe distance, looked at me expectantly. Their eyes were pleading with me to sit down with Bodyguardi. I'd apparently been assigned a regular table by group consensus. Incidentally, Clifford and Elena Lise ate on the second floor. I witnessed them having a meal together once, and it was enough to make me lose my appetite. They spent the whole time feeding each other and kissing passionately, totally ignoring all the stares. Watching that, it left me feeling empty inside, so I decided to keep my distance from them at lunchtime. Master, what's the Demon King drinking? Said Julie, tugging at Zenoa's sleeve. It looks really good. You're a dwarf, all right. Indeed, this beer is of the highest quality. It was the secret stash of that man with the hairball in his head. I'd heard that dwarves like to drink, yes, but did Julie already have a taste for alcohol? I felt like she was still way too young for that, but apparently I was the only one who felt that way. Sir Body, would you mind if she had a little? Not at all. There's no joy in drinking all alone, you know. Have as much as you please. Julie took a cup Body had filled to the brim with beer and began sipping steadily away. This is really a good idea. She had to be a little young for this, right? I mean, sure, we could always use detoxification magic if she got too drunk, but still. And again, I was drinking here and there at the age of 7 myself. Maybe it would be too hypocritical of me to object. Perhaps I'll have a mug as well then, said Zenoba. You got classes today, I pointed out. It's probably not a good idea. Ah, if you say so, master. My apologies, Sir Body. You can't even drink when you please. The life of a student must be an unhappy one. Nice. With this boisterous conversation running in the background, I ate my lunch and set out for my next class. This one was a course on advanced healing, located in a 5th-year classroom. I've been surprised to find that Persenna was taking this class as well. Specifically, the surprising part was that it was just Persenna. Linnea was taking a different class. Normally, Persenna didn't take anything seriously, but to her credit, she actually paid attention to the lectures, while gnawing on sticks of jerky, of course. Still, most of the other students were terrified of her based on her reputation as a delinquent, so she'd been spending a lot of time by herself lately. She even had trouble getting anyone to pair off with her in the practical skills sessions. Because of all this, she seemed genuinely grateful to have me around. On this afternoon, she went so far as to say, "You're the best, boss. Here, you can have my most prized possession." The gift she handed me was a half-eaten piece of jerky. By her standards, this was probably a very special gesture. Accepting it with a nod, I went ahead and licked it all, savoring the dog girl flavor. Persenna looked at me with open disgust, and so did I. Hey, you're the one who gave it to me. As for Linnea, lately she'd been peppering me with questions about elemental spells. It sounded like she was struggling to get the hand of combined magic. It's apparently a major stumbling block for lots of people who are focusing their studies on offensive magic. Sophie had picked it up relatively smoothly back in the day, but maybe it was one of those things that got harder to learn as you got older. Today, I took some time to try and teach Linnea about combining fire and water magic. Put me in a kind of nostalgic mood, honestly. I started off by trying to explain the cycle of evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. The concept just seemed to confuse her. Yeah, but the whole ocean turned to rain. Wouldn't it just disappear after a while? I mean, the rain just flows back in the ocean after it falls, so there's no net loss. That's not true, Mew, said Rinia, her face shining with triumph. In the great forest, the water soaks right into the ground. Sure, but the water either gets drawn up back by plants or starts flowing along underground, so eventually I tried my best to walk her through it one step at a time, but it didn't seem like I was getting through to her. All I really wanted her to get was that water from the ocean evaporated, formed rain clouds, and then fell back down. Once you had a good intuitive understanding of that, you could start putting the principles involved to practical use. But we clearly weren't there yet. Still, Linnea wasn't as totally hopeless as Ghislaine when it came to thinking stuff through, so she'd probably understand it eventually. Come to think of it, though, there was no real guarantee the rain cycle actually worked the same way in this world, given that you could summon water with magic here. While we're on the topic of elemental magic, I should mention that I recently learned my first Saint tier level earth magic spell, Sandstorm. It's basically a more powerful version of the advanced tier spell Duststorm. That might not sound too impressive on its own face or on its face, but when I'd actually tried it out, an astonishingly fierce torrent of sand and wind blanketing in a wide area around me. Anyone caught inside was essentially rendered blind. It was a struggle to breathe, and even when the spell's effect finally expired, the entire battlefield would be left covered in massive piles of shifting, unstable sand. where the water spell cumulonimbus involved a careful manipulation of rain cloud and wind currents, sandstorm required you to blow around a massive quantity of tiny particles. It seemed like many spells of this tier involved changing the weather in some dramatic way. Professor who taught me the spell repeatedly cautioned me not to use it inside a town or city unless I absolutely had to, given that it would do serious damage to any crops growing in the area. That was probably a standard warning you were expected to repeat when teaching someone a Saint tier elemental spell. In any case, I would now officially qualified as a Saint tier Earth magician. I had a vague interest in reaching that level in the two other elements as well, if I had the time to track down professors willing to teach me. Incidentally, the guy who taught me Sandstorm was surprised to learn that I wasn't familiar with it already. My silent spellcasting attacks were on a King tier level at this point, so I guess he assumed that I had mastered everything in the lower Saint tier already. Bodygotti recently told me that the stone cannon had fired off at him had actually been on an Imperial level in terms of pure destructive power. Did that mean I could call myself an Emperor tier magician? When I asked the professor, he said I could call myself anything I wanted. Sensing a slight edge to that remark, I decided not to do so. It was hard to imagine any good would come from advertising myself as some master mage anyway. The earlier afternoon, I often headed over to Nanahoshi's laboratory. University had given her quite a lot of space to work with, but since she'd filled up the front room with a jumble of junk, it actually felt a little cramped when you stepped inside. Just past this initial storage area was Eric's experimental chamber, with walls made of magic-resistant brick. The room beyond that was Nanahoshi's bedchamber. She seemed to be keeping a sizable stash of food in one corner, which kind of worried me. Why was she sleeping next to her food? Would have attracted mice or roaches? It became obvious to me fairly quickly that the girl had the makings of a world-class shut-in. And coming from me, that really meant something. I was also strictly forbidden from actually setting foot inside her bedroom. As for the nature of my visits here, for the most part, I was just helping out with the summoning magic experiments. My role was a simple one. I channeled mana into the magic circles she'd drawn up. Simple enough, but there was a ton of them. She was testing out all sorts of things, even patterns she expected to fail, in a trial and error approach. Nanahoshi had lots of money to spare, but that didn't mean she could secure herself an infinite number of magic crystals to throw at these experiments. The supply available was always limited, and if you tried to buy them all, you'd make yourself a lot of enemies very quickly. As a result, she'd previously been hesitant to move forward with these tests. All I did was single-mindedly channel my mana into magic circle after magic circle. Normally, there were no results at all. The magic paint would disappear, leaving only the lines you sketched out underneath. However, sometimes one of them would suck quite a lot of mana out of me, and something strange would appear out of nowhere, typically something like a dirty black birdwing or a leg of an insect. When I asked Nanahoshi if we succeeded, she replied, "Course not." The idea was that we'd try out tens of thousands of these things, or tens of thousands of these things, looking for a fluke success or clues to general principles that she could work from. It sure seemed like it was going to take us a while, though. What exactly is the goal of these experiments? I want to learn how to summon a human being from our old world. Right now, we're laying the groundwork for the groundwork of a theory that might get us there. Once she could make a magic circle capable of summoning people from a different world, she could make one that could send them back home too, possibly. In theory. Either way, we had a lot of preliminary stages to get through before we got anywhere close to that. This definitely wasn't going to be a short-term project. Okay, I understand the general plan, but if we summon someone the same way you were summoned here, aren't we just going to cause another huge disaster? Believe me, or excuse me, believe me, I have no intention of creating a second displacement incident, but if I can move a few stages further along in my research, I should be able to nail down a theory regarding why it happened. Sure. I know things go wrong in experiments all the time, though. Just be careful, okay? Lots of people died because of that whole mess. It's not just experiments, Rudius. Things always go wrong no matter what we do. I'm very aware of the risks, alright? That's why I'm taking things so cautiously. I couldn't say that I completely followed, but I did understand that she was building up to something slowly and methodically. Maybe it would be best if I learned the basic at least. You know, I'd like to learn some summoning magic myself. Summoning is my lifeline. I can't go around handing out my knowledge freely. I thought you said you'd teach me anything I want to know. Nanahoshi clicked her tongue in irritation. All right, fine. Once we're done with this experiment, I'll answer one question for you. One answer for all these? You pay terribly, Nanahoshi. Once we're really finished and I head back home, you can have all the resources, knowledge, and connections I leave behind, she snapped. So for now, try to be a little patient. Somebody seemed a little on edge. In her defense, though, I guess it was uncool of me to start begging for rewards when we hadn't even accomplished anything yet. Before we continued, though, Nanahoshi did hand me a book with the title Sig Summoning. If you're that interested, do a little studying yourself. I felt like I'd seen this somewhere before, but I had no memory of reading it. I accepted it with gratitude, and thus my experiments with Nanahoshi had continued along those lines. At this point, I'd stopped dropping by the library for hours at a time, but Master Fitz sometimes showed up to join me when I was visiting Nanahoshi. As I watched him try to help out one day, I realized that these experiments were actually pretty grueling work. We ran out of mana entirely after working through only 20 scrolls or so. This is crazy, Rudius. Activating one of these things consumes as much mana as casting an advanced spell. Excuse me. Fitz was a silent spellcaster like myself, but evidently his mana capacity was considerably smaller, and he had more mana than most people. From the sound of things, it did seem like my capacity was just freakishly large. I kind of wish somebody could put it into numbers somehow. In any case, Fitz was a proficient mage, and he'd struggle with the task. Was it something about Nanahoshi's magic circles in particular, or did summoning magic just eat up that much mana? Unlike offensive spells, he probably wouldn't be using a dozen different summoning spells in a single battle or anything, so it seemed reasonable that they might have a higher mana cost. But it was bizarre that scrolls which produced no effect at all would drain so much power from Fitz. Maybe it had something to do with the fact that we were trying to summon things from a different world. I'm sorry, Rudius. I have to protect Princess Ariel, so I don't think I can keep up with this, or help up with this. I need to keep some mana in reserve just in case. Yeah, of course. Makes total sense. For some reason, Fitz seemed a little gloomy lately. Maybe he was feeling down about all this. He did seem to have some confidence in his talents as a magician, after all. Everyone had their pride. It wasn't something I paid that much attention to, but for a young guy like him, it might feel like the most important most important thing in the world. And I hope she didn't really talk to Master Fitz when he came along. Then again, I got the impression Fitz wasn't the biggest fan of Nanahoshi either. I'm not much use here, am I? Fitz's voice sounded downright dejected. I shook my head quickly. That's not true. It isn't? Of course not. It's reassuring just to have you around. Fitz had helped me out in many ways over the last year. Maybe he couldn't contribute much to this particular task, but I didn't want to send him away just because he wasn't being useful to me. If he had something more pressing to deal with, I wasn't going to force him to stay, but if he was thinking about leaving because he couldn't help, I'd encourage him to reconsider. Please keep coming here with me when you have time, Master Fitz. We've been looking for answers for months now, right? Let's keep pursuing the truth together. Sure. Thanks, Rudius, said Fitz, smiling bashfully. That smile was seriously powerful. Fitz was probably only 13 or so at the moment, but a few years down the line, he'd probably be a real lady killer. Perfectly honest, he was so cute that lately it was hard for me to not instinctively respond to him as I did to girls. Is there something wrong with my eyes or what? Maybe I was just awakening to a latent interest in men? As the sun set, I headed back towards my dorm with Fitz, be going our separate ways a little before the girls' dormitory as always. Oh, right. Rudius? Yes? I think you can take this road now if you want to. Fitz indicated the path in front of him. It led to the place where I'd been accused of stealing underwear shortly after enrolling at this university. Ever since that day, I'd been careful not to wander down in that vicinity. Come on, Master Fitz, are you trying to get me attacked by a shrieking horde of angry girls again? I'm not sure how that's how it would go this time. You've gotten kind of popular in the girls' dorm, you know. Huh? Wait, seriously? Am I the prince of from the tennis club now? Tennis? Fitz seemed totally nonplussed. Understandable. Uh, well, he continued, people are saying that you're actually a gentleman. You beat up on the bad guys, but you never hurt the normal students, right? I mean, you're strong enough to take down the Demon King, and he beat all those Beast Folk warriors easily. But when the girls suddenly surrounded you and made all sorts of threats, you didn't do anything to them. He had to be making this up, right? I heard the way people whispered at me in the dining hall. I definitely didn't have a fan club. They were all scared of you at first, but Linny and Persenna went around telling them, our boss is a nice guy, Mew. He never picks on weaklings. As he imitated Linnea's voice, Fitz put his hands up where her cat ears would be. How can I put this? It was cute. Unfairly cute. Something spooky and mysterious was happening down around my groin. After that, their opinion of you improved really fast. I mean, your clothing's a little shabby, but your face is kind of handsome, and some girls like the gloomy look. Oh, sorry, that's him. After that, their opinion improved really hold on. But your face is kind of handsome, and some girls like the gloomy look. Oh, and you're not a pushy jerk, even though you're really powerful. Those two must have done some seriously good work out there. The way Fitz described it, they hadn't mentioned the whole impotence thing either. I should treat Persenna to a nice steak sometime soon. What about Linnea, though? I don't even know what she wants. Status? Honor? Cash? Of course, there are some girls who are still afraid of you, like Goliath, for example. Ah, right. That makes sense. She was at the head of that group on my first day, after all. I sort of accidentally intimidated her the other day. Really? Well, Linnea and Persenna pester her about it every time they see her, too. That might explain why she'd reacted so strongly when I tried to say hello. You don't intervene or anything, Master Fitz? Nope. I mean, it's her own fault, really. She's the one who decided you were the bad guy based on nothing at all. Maybe she'll learn something from this. Wow, Fitz could be harsh when he wanted to. I can understand where he was coming from, but bullying wasn't the answer. I don't think she meant badly. Try not to harass her so much, okay? I'd appreciate you if you pass the message on to Linny and Presena too. My voice came out sterner than I'd intended. Oh. Fitz held up his hands in a placating gesture, looking a little flustered. Nobody's harassing her, Rudius. It's more like they tease her every so often. I don't think she's scared or anything, just a little exasperated. It was kind of hard to imagine someone as physically intimidating as Goliath being the kid everyone messed with, but in any case, a running joke like that could easily turn into actual bullying, so we still had to be careful there. Or be careful here. Okay, as long as it's all in good fun, that's fine, but for the record, I'm not holding a grudge or anything. Would you keep an eye on things and make sure they don't take it too far? You really are a nice guy, Rudius. Sure, I'll let Goliath know that too. That last part not be necessary. The last thing I needed was her sending me a pair of underwear as a token of her gratitude. With another shy smile, Fitz started walking off down the road, while I stayed back at the crossroads. After 3 steps or so, however, he turned around to look at me. Like I said, it really is okay for you to come this way now, if you want to. That's all right, I said, putting on my best cool guy expression. If I managed to earn myself a decent reputation here, I'd better not ruin it by strutting down the road like I own the place. Huh? Uh, right. Sure. I guess that sounds like your style. Stumbling a little over his words, Fitz covered his mouth with one hand. Was he trying not to laugh? Maybe the cool guy face still needed some work. People were always telling me that my smiles were kind of disturbing, but I've been trying my best to improve them. Okay then, Rudius. I'll see you later. Right. See you soon. With that, the two of us went our own separate ways. For some reason, though, Fitz looked a little sad as he walked away. After eating dinner, I gave Julie her daily magic lesson in Zenoba's room. Julie was a studious, clever kid who absorbed new information like a sponge. She was also rather dexterous and could use her fingers to do precision work when her magic failed her. Not to be crass or anything, but Zenoba had gotten a real bargain when he picked her up. Still, this was only her first year in training. Her mana capacity was just too low for sustained work, and her accuracy wasn't up to par either. Although she was skillful with her hands, she'd only just started to practice with sculpting tools, so she was still awkward with them. Teaching her the ropes was going to be a long-term project. While giving Julie explanations and advice, I worked my own figurines as well. Lately, I started on a 1/8 scale figurine of Master Fitz, but since he always wore layers and a bulky cloak, it was a little hard for me to imagine the exact shape of his body. Most of the gubs I met were very slender, with almost nothing in the way of body fat. I could work on that assumption. The biggest problem, though, was how to deal with his private parts. I was seriously conflicted. I didn't want to put anything in between his legs, but he might get mad at me if I depicted him as a girl. I really wanted to show him the figurine after it was done, too. If you like, Master. Oh, sorry. If you liked, Master, I could sneak up on him when he least expected and rip off his clothes for you, offered Zenova generously. Thanks, but no thanks. Incidentally, Zenova was currently working on a red worm figurine with my guidance and advice. The component parts of this figure were all relatively large, so it was a good project for him. Still, he wasn't the best with his hands, so progress was slow. We'd have to take it step by step. Before I went to sleep, I took some time to read. Today, I was working on Sig's Summoning, the book I'd borrowed from Nanahoshi. Nanahoshi. It was a story of a witch named Sig, who had summoned many fearsome fiends for various reasons. In the end, she used an enormous offering and a huge amount of mana to call forth a creature that was stronger than she was, which promptly killed and ate her. Her student, bitterly lamenting this tragedy, swore an oath to never summon anything beyond his ability to control. There was a moral to this story and everything. It felt like a fairy tale. If someone like me, who had more mana than he knew what to do with, were to summon the strongest creature that he could, there was a good chance something too powerful and dangerous to handle would show up. That was an important takeaway, at least. I have to start slow with this stuff and make sure I understand the risk before I did anything too dramatic. Still, the book didn't have any concrete details on how the fiends were summoned, or the nature of the magic circles that the witch used. There wasn't much to study in it, really. And so, another typical day at the University of Magic came to an end. I still hadn't found any means of curing my condition. It almost felt like I'd missed my chance and moved on to the next part of my story by needing Nanahoshi. Maybe the man god's prophecy had left me too optimistic. Maybe I should have searched more urgently for an answer and tried all sorts of things. As it happened, though, my worries proved to be unfounded. Shortly after this very day, things moved quickly towards an unexpected resolution. Hold on, I'm gonna get water. Chapter 8. Clueless but perceptive.
Oh, no. We're gonna stop there.
We're good?
We're gonna stop
Okay.
there. It's
Cool.
10:17. There is no reason to start a new
Right.
chapter now.
That's right. Time went by fast. I didn't even know.
Yeah, no, hey. It happens. You start reading, you just get into it. Man, I get you. I'm reading book 2 of the Aragon series. and I felt like I was just reading for like a little bit, like maybe 10, 20 minutes. 2 hours went by. I love
Yeah.
that Bob is like read all night. Wants you to read all night. Yeah, yeah. He wants you to read all night. But
Yeah.
we went from 20% to 51%. We're at page 166. We did pretty good. Pretty good. 166 out of 314. How about that? How about that? So we're looking at things next week, possibly getting another quarter of the way through this book. That's the other thing. Like, you're sitting here, like, our difference between Slime and Mushoku Tensei, it feels like we actually make progress when we read Mushoku Tensei. Like, we're like, oh man, we finish a book in practically a month. So
Yeah, I can see
yeah.
that. The chapters in Slime, it's been so long.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
feel like
I'll-
those ones are very
To
long.
be fair, I'm going through and re-listening to the light novels, I'm listening to the
The slime ones.
audiobooks for Slime, which are read by the voice actress for Rimuru,
Yeah.
which is
Do they go about the same pace, you think?
yes. I forget how dense a lot of this stuff is, and I
Yeah.
see where the
can see
anime
it.
cut things out, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, it makes sense that they did that because we don't need to know about Needle from the Needle Migum from the little tiny bordering group that is right next to Tempest. You know, we don't need to know all that. Yeah, Yom came from there. Big freaking whoop. Um, the only part where that whole thing is relevant is during season, I think, yeah, season 3, the first half of season 3, because that's where the king Ed Maris and Yom and that whole faction are when the king's brother is trying to start shit with Tempest and take back Farmus. So this is before it gets turned into Falminus or Farminus, however you want to say it. It still bothers me to no end, even though I know they do not say these things in the anime, to hear Rimuru call him Gabil instead of Gabiru.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, there are things that I was like, all right, I'm staunch on this. We are not using what the book says here. Instead of lycanthropiers, it's beastketeers. It's whoever translated the books, man. I really wish they'd gotten together with whoever did the initial translations for the anime, because it just did not translate well. 3 beastketeers works way better than 3 lycanthropiers. It just does not work. It's like, do you not get that there's like puns that should be made here? That like when you translate, you shouldn't do just straight up direct translations, especially with some. Anyway, Gabiru becomes Gabil.
That's so weird. My
Um,
brain can't really fathom it.
right?
It's very odd.
Speaking of Gabiru related content, I got messaged by you, the Das Tales, who sent me 2 days ago. It was Cosmo's birthday, and he sent me a thing saying "Happy birthday, Cosmo," and I just replied back. I replied back with the whole the minions praising Gabiru and him making all those poses from season 1. Gabiru, Gabiru. So, because just like how it was in the Japanese version and our abridged version, he voices both, so it's good. Also, sorry for changing the image like midway through or like resizing the image and everything. I realized I did not like the way that the image for this one looked, and I will try once we get to new volumes to make sure that I grab the image, the insert images for each book, and they'll be there for everyone that we're reading. But yeah, this is the insert for volume 9. And really quickly, there's Batty Gaddy with his or I'm sorry, Body Gotti with his body yaddy yaddy. Silent 7 star. You don't see the names, but basically you see Luke and Princess Ariel. Then there's Fitz, Cliff, Presena, and oh god, Presena's the cat. I don't remember the dog. Oh no, Linnea. Is that her?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I
so.
think so. And then of course there's Rudy's.
Yeah,
So
because Priscilla, I think, is a
this is the
cat.
cast. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the cast. So if memory serves, next book is Marriage, House, and the Sisters showing up. Like that whole
Mhm.
thing are like big primary spots in there. But yeah. So in this one, I already think it's funny that Rudy's manhood is starting to wiggle around a little bit with
Mhm.
Sylphie, and he doesn't know it's Sylphie. I
Yeah.
love all the gay panic that's happening within
Like the little
Rudy's head.
hints.
It's great. Yeah,
It's
It's
fine.
funny.
Man discovers he is bi
yeah.
unintentionally, but he wasn't, sadly.
All right. Any last minute things you guys want to talk about? State whether
Uh,
it's about this series or
not
not.
anything.
Also, should we do a vote on whether or not to watch the anime when we get caught up and get caught up to season 2? Like, should we
We
do
can
like a
that.
little thing, take a break before we just dive right into season 3 content, spoilery,
Oh, that's a good question.
or
Yeah,
no?
I don't mind doing that.
Okay.
Can I shout out anything?
Yeah, you can shout out anything, any projects you're
Anything
working
that
on,
I
stuff
want?
like that. I
Oh, okay.
mean,
Nothing project wise I'm working on,
okay.
but I am
What were
trying
you wanting
to.
to
Well,
shout
I am
out?
trying. And, I was gonna shout out some movies.
Oh,
Oh,
what movies?
Well, I was gonna
like his
shout out
favorite movies.
what was it? Not my favorite movies, but well, maybe one of them's not really a movie, but uh Tokyo Godfathers, really fucking good. I really really like that movie. It
Okay.
has a very good dub. And Castlevania Nocturne, but that's a series. I like both of those.
Okay.
I just finished
Anybody
that.
else?
And Muppet Treasure Island, because why not? It's here on my shelf.
All right, good stuff.
It's got Tim Curry on it, and it makes a very funny face on the back of the DVD cover.
Oh, I'm gonna shout out. I'm gonna shout out an anime that I absolutely despised. So please do yourself the favor.
What
Do
is it?
not watch this anime. This is not reverse psychology. Like it's
What is it?
objectively bad. It's called
What is it?
Ubelblatt.
I don't know what the fuck that
The
is.
hell?
Ubelblatt. Yeah,
What?
it's literally billed as a revenge story.
yeah.
And then
Hmm.
by the third episode, the dude encounters one of the people he wants to get revenge on, loses, and then just suddenly like just gives up on his revenge. Not like, oh, I've turned over a new
In the
leaf. No,
third
just
episode?
like just hollowed out. Fuck this thing. I'm not doing. On the third or
What?
yeah, around the third episode. Like, keep in mind, this guy is doing some crazy shit. And if you see, like, all you have to do is watch the first episode and you'll be like, nah, this dude getting his revenge, absolutely justified. And then for the rug to get pulled out, that he's just like, he loses once and he gives up on his revenge because of whatever dumb reason. I'm like, this is the worst written piece of shit I've ever seen. How did this get an anime? So yeah, don't watch
So
that
we're gonna
series.
watch on
It
stream
sucks.
now and comment about it now,
You
right?
don't, yeah.
You can go fuck yourself. I will not. No,
I haven't even tried
I
it,
just
so-
typed in anime over on Amazon Prime just because I was curious, and I was like,
yeah.
holy shit, the amount of stuff that is on both Crunchyroll and High Dive that is also on Amazon now, like you can just watch on Prime Video. Yeah, sure. I think all the high dive stuff is you have to pay to watch it on Amazon. Not 100% sure.
Oh,
It
you have
may
to
be
like
series
buy it, even
based.
if you have Prime.
Even if you have Prime, yeah, you have to rent it. Of course,
just
if you
stupid. What's
if
the
you
whole
can
point?
prove that you have a High Dive account, you can just watch it on Amazon. That's fine. That being said, though, the reason I did this Moon was because I was curious what anime were on Amazon that I could be like, oh, I share my Prime account with you now.
Yeah, you do.
So
Cool.
you can look at that list of anime and Jesus Christ, just type in anime
man.
and start looking at the genre. Oh my God, there's so much. There's a bunch
Yeah.
of stuff that's on Crunchyroll. Like there's a shit ton of stuff that's on your list, and then there were things that I was like, ah, fuck, I forgot to add that to your list.
I mean, your
But I
list is
wasn't-
ever growing, my friend.
But I wasn't sure if you checked it out yet or not. That being said, though, guys, do want to throw a shout out to Moon's reactions on Wednesday. You are halfway through Gate right now.
Yep,
Yeah.
finishing Gate this upcoming Wednesday,
Ooh.
and then
What's
I'm
your
moving on
next plan?
to I don't remember what was
Kaguya-sama.
after Gate. Kaguya-sama.
Oh, that's a good
That's
one.
it.
That
Yeah,
is like
Kaguya-sama.
over
Yeah,
4
that's a good. That's
seasons
a good.
though,
Another
but
good
it
one.
is very
I
good.
think we're gonna have to do a new voting thing where we have to we have to get the top 3 in every genre that people want you to watch, and then like we collectively figure out like which ones, like what are the number ones from each genre that everybody wants you to check out, and
With their
then yeah, so
oh, sorry,
the number ones from that will be uh we'll battle against each other for like which ones you're gonna watch over the next course of whatever. So we do a battle royale, the number ones from each genre, and that's the order of the next things you watch. Instead of doing, because it just makes it so much easier if we do it that way. And yes, there is a quote unquote poll function on YouTube, but it only gives you 4 options max,
yeah.
which is the dumbest thing. It's like you do realize that some polls can have insane amounts. Either that or I'm just gonna have to link to
Do a straw poll or something. Yeah.
yeah, do like
I
a
mean,
big
you could
ass
do like
straw
a
poll.
poll bot, but then you would have to do it on like Discord or something, and then it would be a very small number.
You could put it on Twitter too. You could.
Yeah, I
I
guess
mean,
so.
so long
I
as
don't
I
know if
can
Twitter
link
does
it, so
more
long as I
polls.
can link it to places, yeah, I could link it on YouTube.
That is fair.
Yeah, they'd be like, this is the whole thing. We may set it up that way because it would be much easier, much easier.
Mm.
And then when
Yeah.
we've got it narrowed down to the top in every field, it's like, all right, here's what we got. Bam.
Cool. Yeah.
Also, is romance and rom-com, do you count those as 2 different categories? Because to me, it's just all romance.
Romance and rom-com.
Yeah. I mean,
can
I
see
get it.
that.
I get it's romance and also comedy for rom-com, and it's I consider rom-com to be a subgenre of romance.
Romance.
Yeah.
I can.
I mean, it's still
see that.
romantic comedy. So
Yeah, I can see that because I mean,
why.
I don't know. You can have an action romance or like a
Mhm.
well, horror romance is kind of
Horror romance, like yeah,
horror
yandere.
romance is kind of rare. The only one I can think of is probably Future Diary, but that's kind of
Oh, when
not
you're talking about anime,
horror.
gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm familiar with
No, in real life
horror
there are other
romance.
ones.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Horror romance anime doesn't really come to mind
Yeah.
unless you want to
Gotcha.
count like High School of the Dead, but that's not really a romance. That's just
That's
ecchi.
That's not really-
that's literally zombie porn.
Yeah, it's just zombie porn.
It's
It's
not
Like
really
it's
horror. Is it
it's
really
zombie killing
horror?
and like that's like
I'm
that's
sure.
like how far this is like how far can we get to hentai before we cross that line? It's kind of
See,
that.
I have a
And they
Yeah.
they have pushed that boundary every single
They
time.
moved
That one seems
they moved the
tame.
boundary a couple of inches. That's all I'm going to say.
yeah.
That being said,
Like the only
anything
inches they
else? Anything else you guys want to talk about before we raid Leafy?
This should be okay. That was good though.
We're gonna raid the
seriously,
We
chief
should
Leaf.
spend the next.
If you are
5
taking
hours-
another
5
movie
minutes
onto
on
your
Leaf.
list, Tokyo
All right.
Godfather is a very, very good movie. To
Guys,
have it
here's the thing I want you to do. When we raid Leaf, I want you to type
Yeah.
Chief Leaf. A lot of E's, a lot of I's in the Chief, a lot of E's, a lot of A's in the Leaf.
Yeah.
That sounds so Donald. A lot of E's, a lot of I's in the Chief. I want a lot of E's, a lot of A's
We need to
in
get,
the Leaf.
like, a
The
torn
biggest
wig.
Leaf, the best Canadian Leaf you'll ever meet. It's Chief Leaf. Yeah.
Well, we know what you're doing for Halloween now.
Everybody
No.
say Chief Leaf. No, I am not. I'm not dressing up for Halloween, my dude. First off, no. Secondly,
Oh.
way. But yeah, guys, if you don't mind, just call it. Just say Chief Leaf, and there we go.
Okay, I'll keep one there.
That is all I require for this. Anybody else got anything that they want to shout out before we head off?
Nope. I'm good.
I think we're good.
Okay, well, lastly, we have a KaiCon coming up in like 3 weeks.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
something like
close.
that.
Yeah, it's like 3 weeks from now, so it's a little less than 3 weeks. It's
Oh,
gonna be the 27th through the 29th,
Yeah.
and so 1, 2, 3 weekends to go. So not this weekend, not next weekend, but the weekend after next. Literally the end of the month. Literally the end of the month. So
Ooh.
actually, it's a little over 3 weeks, not a little under. Sorry, it's a little under 4 weeks away. So we're less than a month away. Less than a month. So we
End
hope
of
to
this
see
month.
some of you guys there. We are going to be doing Anime Church Live. We've got a after hours 18 plus panel where we're going to have ourselves and members of the audience who would like to volunteer dub some hentai manga. Just
Oh my
just
God.
read I don't know if we're gonna show it on screen, but whatever. And then we are going to be doing a big abridging panel as well as a frick, I forget what else. Now that my brain broke after some of that. Man.
We
know we
gotta
got
do another fundraiser to fix that.
I know we got the abridging panel and frick. What was the fourth thing? All right, now I'm having to go and check
The what is it, like the
the panels,
how-to
the
panel or something like
convention
that?
stuff. No, it's not a how-to panel.
I heard it was something. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking last year's or whatever, something else.
You are thinking about a different con that we were not attending. All right, so
I remember hearing it from.
I know I can.
Professor,
I know
don't
I hold on. I know I took the Konosuba and solo leveling abridged stuff and I combined them to the. Oh, it's the voiceover panel. Test your mic. Yeah.
That's what it was.
The voiceover panel. That's going to be a 2-hour panel. Yeah. I always do that. I like to separate out my panels and do a bunch of panels and have fun and all those things. That being said, hope to see you guys there. We'll be, if you're in that neck of the woods, if you're close enough to get here, then hope to get. But mostly, we're just gonna hang out and be stupid, goofy goobers, and,
As usual.
and make food. We're gonna make food. So
Yeah.
that being said, guys, take care. We're gonna raid Chief Leaf,
Mhm.
Woo.
and that'll be it for us. Take care and bye bye.
right.
We'll see you
Bye-bye.
all. We'll see you all hopefully with Asha tomorrow, and then we'll be back with more solo leveling dub watching Wednesday, and then Moon right after we'll be doing his reactions.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
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 I love that somebody already went Chief Leaf in there.
I accidentally hit the button.
It's okay. They
I hit the
prime
button.
themselves.
Sorry.
Fine. I got to pee so bad.
Also,
Don't do
it's
that.
Chief Leaf is there was EIs.
So I want to be. So are you doing it through just Sunday, right? Or are you gonna be back Monday for like the Monday stuff? For that Monday, I should say.
In reference to what?
A KaiCon.
What?
Like, are you gonna be like coming back on Monday and then doing the like light novel stuff, or no?
Depends on quite a few things right now.
Okay.
Wait, whose turn is it to read on
Uh,
the after a KaiCon?
Like that. I think
don't know.
so. It would be. Well, I think it would be. Actually, I think it would be game stuff, right? 'Cause we end of the month.
No, we're not gonna want to do games. I don't think. Not post. I mean, post con. I'd rather just read, but that's just me. It technically is the game week.
Yeah.
More than a woman.
It might
I
be
don't
Shem.
know.
looks
All right, so
Because it'd be Moon
Shem.
next week, and then
Moon.
me the following week, right?
Yeah,
And
Oh,
then
for
it'll
the
be
reading?
game.
Yeah.
and so you'd be starting back up at the end of the month if we don't do gaming.
I guess worst case scenario, it could just be me and Shem if you guys are still coming. Oh, well, I guess you probably would just be sitting and chilling, so it probably won't matter.
Dude, I'm 20 minutes from the con. Like, what are you talking about? Just
Yeah.
you and Shem.
I don't know about Moon.
Moon may be
I
back
don't know
going
either.
back home. He got to drive back, I guess,
gotta-
maybe.
yeah.
Or
Okay, so it might not
depending
have
on the
been, but it would be
plan.
like-
Depending on the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Like, I don't know, Shem, I'm assuming you're not going, right?
No, I can't.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe next year
Yeah.
when planes don't suck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like maybe with the air traffic controllers, there's more of them, and like we're not potentially almost crashing every time you try and land.
Yeah.
Or not pulling crap like Fillion and saying, oh, this is a bomb, or some shit like that. Got her whole streaming PC confiscated for that stunt.
The hell?
What the hell? What the hell?
Whoa.
What the hell?
Honestly, she should know better.
She should, but she doesn't, and I worry for her sanity and those around her.
Who?
Fillion.
Oh. What are we talking about
TwitchCon,
this
she
time?
wanted to stream with her whole setup, and she was getting it through customs, and it's like, oh, it's just the PC. Is like whispering under her breath, unless it's a bomb. or
Dude,
some
I
stupid
don't
shit
know.
like
Was that actually for TwitchCon?
That was for, I think, whatever the last. I think it was TwitchCon. I want to say it was.
TwitchCon was in the U.S.
I know if was it EU. I don't know. I know it was for TwitchCon. That's all I remember. And then, so she.
No,
they
I
basically
remember
confiscated her whole
Fillion being an absolute moron and letting the
Mhm.
letting the voices, when you listen to the
In her head
impulsive
win.
voices, when you let those impulsive voices win, she's just like she whispered under her breath, "It's a bomb," and then they took it and pulled it apart and everything. You don't joke with the TSA like that.
No.
Time
it's
and a
really
place, woman.
stupid.
You're an idiot.
Yeah. Pretty bad.
Yeah, that's why. I'm
But
like,
let's be 100% honest. No one was overly surprised about this. Like Fillion is not known as a bastion of sanity.
Gosh.
Like, I don't even know. I understand she wanted to take her PC with her to
Intrusive
stream from her
thoughts.
hotel
The
room or whatever,
intrusive
but yeah.
thoughts won. That's what. No,
Mhm.
taking her PC and her setup and everything overseas. No, that I can absolutely understand.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's you brought this upon yourself. I don't feel sorry for you.
Yeah, literally, you opened your mouth and said words that you shouldn't have. Like
You said
if
the
you
B
want
word
sympathy
in
from
the
me,
A-
look in the dictionary between shit and syphilis. That is where you will find my sympathy.
Or
Okay,
just look
really
up
quickly.
idiot in the dictionary and you'll find you as an example.
Funny. Okay, let's hope that all got auto-saved. I think the autosave feature should have worked. When I was playing Final Fantasy VII Remake earlier, it crashed on me at a certain point, but I just
Ooh.
started a new chapter, so I think I had an autosave. Yes, light the way.
Yeah, because usually
Okay.
they count as like checkpoints as well.
Yeah. So I have the checkpoint. So all the progress that I'd made, which is good because I was like, the last save I had from this was 4 chapters previously
Yeah, and I bet you got a little
on
you got
hard
you
mode,
had a
so it
little,
wasn't exactly like.
PTSD from Subnautica, and was like, oh shit, that's
Oh
not
no,
happen again.
Subnautica, please! That's not even close to like the biggest tragedy of losing save data that
Yeah, but
I've
a
had.
lot of the games nowadays have autosave, and that's like the one that doesn't. and
My
it's like,
guy,
fuck.
let me tell you a tale of the
You're
PS2
going
days and memory card
Yeah, well,
corruption.
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
but it's like,
where I
you got
lost
used to
the
autosave.
entire progress that I had put into Final Fantasy X over 3 weeks worth of progress, just wiped clean. Now,
How do you
when I did
lose
my second playthrough of it, was it a better one because I actually knew what I was doing from the beginning? Yes. Still does not take
And
the
that's
pain
happened.
away. 3 weeks worth of work. And this was like 5 hours a day. Like once I got off work in the military, because I played, like it came out when I was in the military. And I played that
Do you
bitch.
just not turn off
Five-
your PlayStation? Or how
No,
does
I
that
did.
happen?
I don't
You did-
fucking. I to this day do not know how that fucking memory card got corrupted. I had to get a brand new memory card. The amount of games that I
Oh, okay.
lost.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, the corruption.
I'm just
corruption of a memory
just
card, that
talking
makes
about the
sense.
one game but like I had probably
Everything
about
died.
10 games worth of data on there that just were gone. To be fair, I'd beaten all of them, so I no longer cared. Also, this was before achievements were a thing. So when like the PS3 and the 360 came out and we got like achievements and trophies, then I started caring. But yeah. All right. Let
Yeah,
me
'cause there's
show
an extra
you.
thing to go for 100%.
Yeah, right. All right, let me quickly show you guys what's going on. Oh yeah, I'm so used to it at this time. I keep forgetting that. All right, so nothing in the menu is. Why did I click back over to it? Nothing in the menu is different. It's just every time that it doesn't matter what weapon he has. The Mega Buster.
Nice.
Mega Man.
All right, and no matter what weapon he has, Cloud's blade is always Cal Kestis's lightsaber. And okay, now Cloud actually looks like a merc because he's wearing Leon's outfit from RE4. I think it's RE4 remake. And then
This
this
has the extra knife.
Tifa
It's 'cause the knife
is
too.
Tifa is Ada from RE2.
Oh yeah, and I see the Mega Blaster on
The Mega
on,
Blaster on his
on
arm. But if I change his weapon, which is what I'm gonna have to do because this weapon is not as strong or durable, go over to Big
Aw,
Bertha.
sad.
And then it just goes back. So it's only for that one weapon, whereas with Cloud, it's all of his swords. I would have liked it if I could have had the Mega Man weapon or the Mega Blaster for all of his guns.
Just have it be a cosmetic thing that just overrides all of them.
Yeah. Would have been cool. Okay, so it auto-saved right here before it crashed. That's awesome. But
Nice.
yeah, all right, I've only got 2 mods that affect gameplay. One of them is just because it's annoying and I want it to be what it is. So if you look at all my materia slots, you'll see they're maxed out. If I go to my upgrade weapon stuff, I haven't got a single one of the fucking materia upgrade slots unlocked. That is the mod I put on. So from the beginning, I had max slots for my weapons and my accessory, my bangles or whatever. Even the ones that should not have an accessory or should not have a materia slot have max materia slots. It's beautiful. I love it. And so because I don't have to focus on those, I can actually upgrade the important bits. Dude. The important bits on the weapons themselves. So I don't have to focus on upgrading materia. I can just focus on everything else. It's nice. But yeah, I already went through and played this on easy so I could beat it on easy and just when I jump back into remake, I have I have all the bonuses from playing 7 remake Intergrade. Which by the way, there was a statement made by Xbox that has a lot of Xbox fans very hopeful. Okay, so Final Fantasy 16 is on Xbox right now. So I'm wondering if it's on Game Pass, because if it's on Game Pass, that means you could technically play it on PC if you have a Windows PC. Also, 7 Remake is coming to Xbox. They're saying during the winter when they release the Ally, the portable
Oh yeah, the new
console thing.
Xbox Allied.
Yeah.
Branded Allied.
So 16 or 7 Remake has been added to that. 16 is now available. What I'm hearing now is that Square is gonna stop doing exclusivity stuff probably after. We would like for the third installment of the 7 Remake stuff to not be exclusive, but we're pretty sure it's still going to be exclusive. We think the deal was struck for all 3 of them initially, but it sounds like all mainline Final Fantasy games are now going to be available on Xbox, and it potentially in the future there will no longer be exclusivity shit. So day and date release on consoles and PC when new Final Fantasy stuff comes out. And I'm like, yeah, it's about fucking time. This should have been a thing to begin with. Though I understand, okay, once again, talking about Nintendo like shooting themselves in the foot, when Square decided that they were gonna leave Nintendo and work with Sony, because and they were pretty nice about it, but they spoke to the then president of Nintendo about it and said, "Hey, it's just that they offer stuff that we kind of that works better for what we're trying to do." And at first, everything seemed amicable, and then the president later went out and said, "We don't need you. Your gamers are just basement dwellers that we don't need anyway, and RPGs suck." And all this stuff. Said it publicly, and don't come crawling back to us, is what he said to Square, SquareSoft, which is what they were back in the day. But yeah. And so because of that, for a long, long time, none of the Final Fantasy games ever made it over to Nintendo. And they even actively ported their Nintendo titles over to other systems. That's why you get Crystal Chronicles and stuff like that, because they took all their Nintendo shit back and ported it over to like PlayStation and Xbox. So yeah,
they're
Nintendo's
definitely
got a long
kinda-
history of shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, and I guarantee they're gonna they kind of feel like they're back on top, so they're probably on that high horse, like ready to cock that gun back if it
Oh
were.
no, they are not back on
Shoot
top.
their lord.
No, they're not.
Well,
They're
I mean,
now-
back when they were their
No,
mindset
No, I'm
for when they
saying,
were on the Wii U.
I'm saying, if you're thinking that the Switch 2 is going well, I hate to break it to you.
No.
No,
I don't think so.
Nintendo was like, "Oh, people are pre-ordering our Switch," and now the numbers are coming in. They found out that all the sales are coming from scalpers and people that are putting it up on eBay for $799.
The people who got it early, yeah.
Only a few people got it early. Everybody else were scalpers because no one else showed up. Oh yeah, the bad news train is coming. It's not good for Nintendo.
I mean,
The
they got their
majority
money
of
from the
consumers
sales. I
don't
know if they
give a
care that
shit.
much.
The majority of consumers turned down the Switch 2 based on the game pricing. And it didn't feel like, because consumers are straight up saying that the pricing of the games does not feel justifiable based on what we're getting. All right, cool. What's really funny is Nintendo finally put out a console that is kind of almost this gen-esque, right? It's close
And
to the
everyone else is
current
gearing up
gen
for
of
next.
consoles. It's close to the current gen of consoles, which is funny because the one big selling point about the Switch was like the innovation of the Switch and being able to play all this stuff portable and handheld. Like, it's
And
a
now
full
everyone's kinda
handheld
doing that
console.
already.
Don't you dare. Oh, I think my game just froze.
No,
Oh,
Uh-oh.
yeah, it froze.
Okay, so it's because I know why. It's because I unlocked materia. I can't unlock materia until I take off the mod. That's what happened.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay, now I'm getting it.
Yeah,
Now I get what
I
happened.
remember even talking about that.
Mhm.
Being like, yeah, Nintendo, this is not the same landscape. This is not a new thing. You have to bring something new to this.
Well, here's the
refreshing
thing.
to the table.
They pushed out the Switch 2, right? They're like, it's a greater, better version of the Switch. I'm
it's
sitting
Nintendo.
here
We're
along
big
with
Apple now.
hold on. I'm sitting here along with everyone else saying, "Huh. So it's a slightly less expensive and slightly shittier version of the Steam Deck."
yes.
You want to know?
Yeah.
You want to know two things that already separate? Like, it's not even out. They haven't even given us the full specs yet. two things that automatically separate the Xbox Ally from the Switch 2. Number one, the game library. It's not just Game Pass. It's anything that you have that you can get on your Windows PC. This can include your Steam and your Epic Store. So automatically,
At minimum.
Microsoft has 3 times the amount of games that could be thrown on there from different places. So
And games that you already have.
Xbox
too, that you
Game
can
Pass.
easily port over.
And here's number 2. Right? Okay. Actually, there's like 3 or 4, but number 2. If you're playing a game and you save your game and you put down, like, say you're playing on your console or your PC, but you're playing it through Xbox, right? You pause your game, you save your game, and you move over to your Xbox Ally because you want to play on that because you're doing something else. It will literally pick up right from where you left off.
Yep.
Yeah,
You already own
progression
that
save.
game, you got a little progress.
Now here comes number 3. Crossplay. They are saying that the whole point of this Xbox Ally is to have crossplay on there. Now, I now understand why they had to sacrifice 2 of their biggest like IPs. Like Xbox sacrificed 2 of its biggest like primary IPs because Gears of War and Halo are coming to PlayStation. Yeah. So
I wonder if they're going to try to charge $80 for that stuff. Well, no,
They-
'cause that's on PlayStation. That's on
yeah, that's
Xbox.
PlayStation, not Nintendo. They're not playing with Nintendo. The whole thing is like Microsoft and Sony are like, yeah, we're not really fucking with Nintendo on the gaming side of things. On the live action Zelda side of things, it is on the live action Zelda side of things, they are Sony's movie division and entertainment division is working with Nintendo on the live action Zelda. That's where that is. But yeah. Launch game. Okay, cool. But yeah, the other thing, dude. By the way, if they could actually get the proper budget to do it justice, I would love, even if it's just animated in the same way that we're seeing in here, I would fucking love to get a Final Fantasy VII series, not movie, because it's too dense. Don't pack
there's
it
too
down.
much to put into a movie.
Let them do a Final Fantasy VII televised series to get more people to check that out. It's like, dude, if you think this is good, play the game. Like, holy crap.
Play the game.
Play the game. State of play.
Yep. Yeah.
State of play.
Live the life.
Live the life.
It's in the game, but before EA, became
Yeah,
EA.
before EA, there was FF.
It's in the game, not with EA. Not we don't talk about it.
We don't talk about EA.
We're not no
We don't
affiliated.
go over there. We're not affiliated with those people.
Yeah, just real quick, like up to rush to them, like it's in the game, but not EA's game.
Is it though?
We're not EA.
Is it though?
No. We're not EA.
It's in the game, but not really.
Not EA's game. We're not EA's. Like,
We're not
very
really.
Specifically, like have to keep reiterating that just to make sure everyone's like aware. No EA in this. Not involved. No relation.
You know what EA says? You know what EA means in Japan? No. That's what we say to their games.
Eat out, house, and home. 'Cause that's what
EA, say no to drugs.
I don't
We're
know
so
why, it's just
dumb.
like a weird presidential campaign, like EA supports smoking drugs. We don't.
EA
Like,
EA
this is a smear
supports
campaign.
smoking crack. Keep your kids away from crack. Don't support EA and their
Away from
stupid
EA,
FIFA
yeah.
bullshit. Like, oh my god. It's so bad. Oh my god, it's so bad.
Oh, we could have so much fun if we like wanted to make a video for something like that for I don't know something.
Oh, dude, I could do that easily. I could do that so easily for freaking
God, if only you were still
Log
working on
Horizon?
Log Horizon. Yeah.
No, I don't want to work on Log Horizon.
No, I
No.
meant like if only you were
I mean, I
still-
kind of sort of am with Overlord, but like that's
That's already kind of done. That's written and everything.
yeah. So long as I don't use any materia slots, I don't try to upgrade my materia, I'm good.
What would be like the weird slogan thing for Activision then? I don't know.
It's a thing. EA Sports, you're in the
Activision.
game.
Yeah, they don't have that kind of like. That's one good thing about EA. They have a catchy slogan or old slogan.
I mean, they have to have something because they don't. They have a whole lot of nothing otherwise.
Other than Star Wars and did have a Titanfall.
They still have some Star Wars stuff. They're coming out with the last Jedi Fallen Order
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
I think it's like the only good thing they have, and then
Yeah, Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor are the only good Star Wars things that they really have going for them.
I'm starting to hate Apex more and more because I've actually learned recently that they've canonically killed off the Titans and the pilots.
What?
Why?
Yeah. They apparently the big bad in Titanfall 2, I don't remember his name, it's been so long. Moon, you finished the game, right?
Yeah, he
Yeah, I
finished.
did.
He played Titanfall 2.
So that main villain who gets away and whatever, he's like, yeah, Titans are bad, we got to kill them all. And he kills, like, he destroys his Titan.
What's his
Like,
name?
gets
What's
all
his name, by the way?
Titans
Aaron
banned.
Yeager.
I don't know,
Yeah.
some fucking guy with a ponytail, if I remember.
Yeah. Some
give a
some
shit.
fucking weird dude just screaming
It's
Titans.
been so long. I don't care. They
I don't
killed
even know
Titans
why.
for
I don't
Titans
even know
there.
why he has so much beef with that particular football team.
Yeah, like
And
he's
it's a
like,
wonderful
now-
day at the Giants Stadium. Oh God, Aaron Yeager is on the field.
Giants.
Not again.
No.
We can't lose.
My dude.
Jesus.
My
So
dude. What do you
Titans.
think I was talking about? Yeah.
I meant to say Titans, but brain
it's
said
Nissan.
Giants.
It's Nissan Stadium, but yeah. Here with the Tennessee Titans. Oh my God, who is this person? Oh my God, why is he zipping around?
Yeah,
You ever
hopefully
wonder
they
if some
do
random
realize
innocent
their
bystander
mistake on
just caught one of those hooks to the face
Hmm.
Yeah.
while they fire off those hooks to go zooming around all over the place? You ever think that maybe there's some poor fucking innocent bystander that just caught one of those hooks to the face during a fight?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, jeez. It's like when you get like hooked by a fishing hook when they pull back. Like you just got a little too close. It's kind of like that. My brother actually did have that happen to him once.
We may be too close.
I think he got hooked like not in his eye, but like right next to it. Like it almost could have took his eye out if it was a little closer.
You'll shoot your eye out.
All right.
Catch
I'm
is
gonna go get
something, but
food.
it's not a fish
I'll see you
eye.
guys
You're gonna
I'll
get
tell you
what?
That much.
Get food. Hungry.
Foob.
Oh yeah.
I
Hungry.
want foob. What type foob you getting?
Actually, that's a good question. I think we have some fried rice downstairs. Sounds nice.
Ooh.
Something quick and easy.
God, you're so Asian. Fried rice, man.
Dude, I have rice a lot.
Well, yes,
Okay,
yes.
And good
In the
for you.
environment
It's
you grow up
kind
in the environment you have grown up in, that is not surprising, my guy.
Listen,
So
my
I'm
mom
gonna-
my mom is not super superstitious, but she said that growing up, she said that rice is equivalent to life. If you throw out rice, it's considered bad luck.
Okay, Kyo, have a
Shem,
rice
I'm gonna
day.
disappoint you.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh, eat
care
some
for rice
Gohan.
that much.
Have some. I hope you have a very rice day.
Yeah. You guys too.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, have a good night.
God.
Have a good one,
Good night.
man. Thank you for reading.
Bye.
Alright.
No problem. Thumbs up.
Yeah,
Catch
My
you guys
pleasure.
we got pretty
You guys have a
far,
good day.
man.
Yeah,
That was
I
pretty good.
didn't realize it covered like fucking 80 pages or something. Some
Yeah,
sort of
well,
close to
hey,
that
yo,
number.
hey, that's giving hope for freaking Sonic over here because he only did 10 pages less than you.
Yeah, so nice work.
I just have to have my tea and what's that Chinese?
Yeah, I should break tea. I just have
syrup or
cold
whatever.
water, but it's nice to have
Chinese
something
syrup.
warm.
It's like, I just have to have
Well-
tea and make sure I've had my medication. We'll be good.
My caffeinication, I guess we
Your
can call it.
caffeinication.
That's
Caffeine
decent,
is a
yeah.
form of medicine. Sure, why not?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, it is a drug. So
Yeah, it
I-
should
It
be an
does
over
make
the
me
counter.
have to go to the
Like,
bathroom,
if
that's why I had to,
anything
like,
should be
triple
an
it.
over the counter drug, caffeine.
yeah,
Yeah.
why not?
No, that's fair.
Sure thing.
Yeah. True facts about the penguin.
You just get concentrated Mountain Dew, turn into a pill.
That's how the
That was
owl-
it was a good thing I drank that. I had that because
Yeah.
it's basically cough syrup, but it was like recommended to me by like some of the VA like people I've been like
Damn.
going to.
3 out of
doing,
4
like, classes
doctors
with,
are
whatever.
absolute idiots.
What is the other? What was the other one? Is he a
A
genius?
fucking genius, yeah.
Yeah,
guy.
he's just absolute
He's
genius.
a gamer.
He's a madman, but
He's a gamer
he's just a gamer.
subs.
smart.
No, okay.
He's a
I have
gamer,
one cup
gamer
from them.
sub.
It's good.
Gamer subs.
Yeah,
Subs,
they
as
make
in the
cool
drink.
stickers. They
They
make
do.
hot stickers.
They make
Yeah.
they make really good cups of they that's the whole marketing campaign, man. It's
cups.
an energy drink because their
The
cups
cups.
are designed to make you thirsty. That should be their
Yeah.
marketing is
Yeah.
like gamer
That is-
subs
that's a good
because
line.
our cups make you thirsty.
That is really
do
funny.
love
No,
I
their
like
dude,
that.
dude.
cups.
Okay, gamer subs. Have a drink on us because our cups make you thirsty.
Good.
Mm.
God damn it!
Love it.
I think I like their metal cups more than their normal
I
ones. but that's
want
just-
I want that as their slogan.
Yeah.
Just gotta write that down somewhere and put that. As a,
I'm probably gonna tweet it at them. Dear gamer subs, I may have your new slogan. Have a drink on us because our cups make you thirsty.
Then you can get small royalties
Yeah.
if that's
Yeah,
how that works.
if they use it, like it's like at some point, even if they don't like acknowledge you for it, it's like, yeah, I tweeted you about this. Like
I did this.
like,
I have the
freaking-
proof. My marketing idea.
Yeah. All right. Goodbye. The rice calls. Goodbye.
The rice calls.
You know,
Yeah.
Rice is gonna meet you.
That is
Uh,
literally the most Asian thing you have ever said to us.
The rice
I have a
calls
rice
to my
call.
name.
The rice
Must
call.
rise.
Rice call, yeah.
Well, how was your phone conversation? Well, it was a pretty rice call.
It was really rice.
Yeah,
actually.
that's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Fly lice? Fly lice. It is
Ah.
fry rice, you plick. All right,
Jesus
bye.
Christ.
Dude,
Bye.
hey, don't blame me.
Bye.
That's me quoting a movie.
All right.
I love that. Sonic's just, all right, bye.
Fair enough.
All right, so how are things going with your car?
I might actually get to work on it this Thursday, Friday, and or Saturday. I actually
Were you
have
able to get
nothing
the
else
stuff
going
you
on.
needed?
No,
Oh.
mostly because the only thing I'm gonna need is like either other pipe stuff or something.
Okay,
I
so you
barely
don't
even know
actually
at
need
this
to
point.
explain the. You don't need to replace the catalytic converter. You just need to
I don't
replace
know.
the pipes. Oh, okay.
The pipes are part of the catalytic converter.
I get that, but I'm just trying to figure shit out. I'm just trying to work shit out.
I get you. I get you.
Yeah,
Basically, if I'm removing the catalytic converter, I'm not putting a new one on there because the cheapest one is still $300 something.
Fuck.
And that was a friend of mine knew where to look and was like, here's some decently priced ones. Showed me one that was $300 and one that was $600, and I said, wow, even in the cheapest possible, I can't get it.
I'm working on it, my guy. I'm working on it.
Yeah. So, but the same friend I was talking to, he's gonna eventually meet me and we'll work with the car, try to figure some stuff out. He's got a way that we can test if it's the catalytic converter, that I'll just have to rent a tool from, like AutoZone or some shit. And
You need to get a reciprocating saw.
a what?
You called it a sawzall?
Yeah?
You said sawzall earlier.
Yeah, if I'm sawing the thing off, but...
Okay. Just a heads up. Somebody who has worked in carpentry for several years, It's
Yeah.
one of those things that bothers me. You know how everybody has a peeve? It's not a skill saw, it's a circular saw. It's not a sawzall, it's a reciprocating saw. You can't just name a saw after the brand. Technically, I let it go with Band-Aid. Even though that's not what the actual thing is, that's the brand. It's just a bandage. But you know what? It's nothing. It's that and nuclear. Everybody that says nuclear as nuclear and keeps proliferating it, so now it's made it into the mainstream. Fuck! It really shows what the education system is here.
Eh?
It only took 2 generations for that. It's a giant pet peeve of mine.
Okay.
Especially because, like, my mom is literally a teacher and she says nuclear. And I'm like, you're part of the problem. And my mom goes, what? I go, you are teaching the youth of this nation to say words incorrectly. Yeah, I bitched out my own mother about that. So, yeah. It's how seriously I take this.
It doesn't bother me that much, so.
I know it doesn't. You don't mind saying things wrong.
Either way, I didn't even know it was a brand, so.
Oh, the Band-Aid?
Sawzall.
Or the
No, I knew
Sawzall?
Band-Aid was the brand.
No, the first time I heard somebody ask if I knew how to use a sawzall, I was like, I don't know what that is. And then they pulled up, they go, sawzall. I go, oh, a reciprocating saw. And they're like, what? I was like, that's what it does. It's a blade that reciprocates back and forth, reciprocal saw. Like, sawzall is a brand, but everybody in the South calls it that. And I have to deal with a bunch of Southerners who call a circular saw a skill saw. And I'm like, dude, skill makes drills, saws, all sorts of shit. And sawzall makes more than that particular saw. It's the equivalent of calling everything that is a cookie that has cream in between, that is like two cookie wafers and cream between it. It's all an Oreo. It's not. Oreo's a brand. You know? Not all milk is purity.
Okay. I don't even get that one.
Purity is a brand that sells milk and dairy products.
Okay.
It's actually a Southern thing. You
Is
probably
that the
don't
one
pay
that
attention.
used the
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Ernest. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Hey,
don't really
Vern?
have a lot of purity milk down here in Georgia.
You don't have a lot of purity down in Georgia.
Well, milk.
Oh
as
no,
far as purity goes,
purity in
it
general.
depends on which city you're in.
No. I've been up and down Georgia a lot in my time.
That's why it depends on the
you don't-
city. You got
You
some
don't
that are
know.
more
You don't
Bible
have a
thumping than
lot of
others.
purity. You don't have a lot of purity in general. Everything's kind of mostly half-assed. Even your peaches are now half-assed.
What?
You used to be the king of peaches over there in Georgia. Now it's like, bro.
No, we've never been the king of peaches. King of peanuts, though.
South America would like a word.
Georgia's greatest export is peanuts. Like, largest export, I mean.
Hang on a second. Woohoo! Okay. Okay, there. Calm down. Woohoo! Got it to calm. Anyhow, is there anything we need to go over before Wednesday? Because I know Wednesday we're both going to be pretty busy. When do you
don't
want to work with
think
me on
so.
finishing up scripting for
Episode 3.
episode 3?
I
Since we're getting
don't
close to
know.
covering those episodes, would you like to do it after we watch them dubbed?
Yeah, I guess.
Because it might give us some more ideas.
It might, but also it's just like, I don't know how many days or how long it's going to take me to work on the car, so like,
I understand.
I'm really hoping I can get it fixed all in like the span of one day. I don't know which day that's going to be.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna hop into my
Anyways.
server.
All right. I'm probably gonna go ahead and jump off.
All right, man. You have a good night.
Yep. You as well. Night.
Alrighty. Mm-hmm. Oh, let me skip that. Okay, so I need to power down that one sub lamp. That one sun lamp over there. All right, it takes me right back here. There we go. Boom, 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 boom.
Sounds like someone could benefit from some of Nyanta's
Just
nibbles.
nibbles. Here comes the pot train. Choo choo.